on your bottom left,
Okay.
next to the mute, it should be something that says start video.
It did, but somebody turned me off. Turn off original sound is what it said. This thing is being recorded. It says by continuing to be in web, you are consenting to be recorded. I continue. I
Yeah,
don't
so
see
after
it.
that, so now look down to your bottom left,
Okay. It says
and you
start
should see,
video.
you see a microphone?
Yes.
To the right of the microphone, it should be something that says start video.
Yes.
Click on that.
Okay. I clicked, but okay.
Yeah.
Do you have to see us? Or
No,
do
no,
you
if
have
you want, if you don't want to be seen, you can put stop video. You click the same thing and it'll just show your name and we'll hear your voice.
It's okay. I just, like I said, doing it myself is new. Doing it at the job, it's like, bam, just hit one key and you're done.
No problem, no problem. It's all good.
You know, it's crazy because I got two sons that are techies all over the place, and they go, "Mom, come on, we ain't gonna be with you all your life." I'm just, stop it. That's my statement. I'm not gonna be with you all my life.
Full moon, I see that Councilperson Martin is in the attendee section. Maybe
Yeah, I'm trying to promote her. I don't have access. If Full Moon, if you can, I think it's Fugo today. If you can promote Councilperson Martin to a panelist, please.
I did promote them already, but they haven't responded to it yet. I keep trying to promote them, but they haven't done it yet.
Okay. Perfect. How you doing, Councilperson Martin? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm well. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Awesome.
How's the family? How's the family? How the boys?
They're just busy.
Yeah.
Keep busy, but it's a good thing.
Tell
We
your
had a
husband
good
I said,
August.
tell your husband I said hello when you talk to him.
Awesome. I will.
No problem.
Hi.
hello, Councilperson.
Oh, hello. Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you guys. I feel like I haven't seen you in the entire August.
I know we had a month off for meetings.
You all look well, so that's a good thing.
Yes,
Very well.
thank you.
All right, so you guys, I'm gonna go ahead. We can go ahead and get started. So, Vice Mayor Erbaum, I know Clerk Jacoby is going to be joining us also, and Attorney Geller also. I believe he should have his invite also.
Is it okay to ask how long this is gonna last?
It's all up to us. Hopefully, I'm gearing for us to be out of here no longer than like.
Yes, hi, I'm at work. So how are you guys?
How you doing? How you doing, Councilperson Perrella?
I'm gonna try to stay the longest possible. Okay.
Okay. We do have let's see if I promote Clerk Jacoby. I promoted her. Okay, she'll be over in a second.
There you go. And I couldn't log into the computer. Wouldn't take the Wi-Fi, so I don't know.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you doing, Clerk Jacoby?
Hi. Sorry, I was having trouble getting into the computer.
It's all good. And I know Attorney Geller was also, he got put his name down for the invite on that email I sent out for everybody.
It's pretty easy to do this morning. Pretty easy for me to do it, I should say. It's pretty easy for me to do this morning. We have these all the time at the job, but it's not always easy to do it when I'm doing it at home.
Okay, there it goes.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, everybody. Good to see everybody here. So we're going to do the workshop, budget workshop right now for the upcoming fiscal year. So, this is a workshop. It's not the first budget hearing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go page by page, section by section. If there's anything that you see that stands out to you or that you have a question about, go ahead while we're on that page and just ask that question. I don't see any attendees here yet, so if we get attendees, I'll give the directions for that also. Being that's the case, you guys, looking over let me just say real quickly, looking over the budget, there's some numbers that are incorrect, to say the least. What we should really focus on, and that's kind of a little frustrating, but what we need to really focus on is the last column, which is the tentative proposed budget for fiscal year 2022. That's kind of like what we're here to kind of debate and argue about. It's like, what numbers do you want to see there for next year for the upcoming budget? That's the most important column to look at while we're here. And so let's say, for example, if there's a certain item and one individual feels like for that item for next year the budget should be $5,000, and another individual feels like for that item for next year the budget should be $3,000. We'll see if we can kind of like talk it out here very quickly, to come to a conclusion as far as like what we want that next year's budget to be for that line item. If we can't agree, and we have two or a few individuals that are hard lined and like their beliefs on what that number should be for that item for next year, then at the budget hearing, we can vote on that. This is a workshop. We can't vote on this. Is a here at the workshop. We can't vote to settle if we have differences or discrepancies about what we want to see as far as the line item and the number for a certain line item in the budget. We can't do that here. We can't do that here. That being said, like I said, if we have we come to a place where we can't agree at all, we'll handle that at the first budget hearing. We can vote then. Okay. Anything else that comes up or any other questions, you guys just feel free. This is a workshop. We're workshopping this budget. So you guys feel free to say what you want, jump in and out as you wish. All right.
I also want to add that our interim CFO, Chris Wallace, is here. So is Chief Magnuson. For any questions, the CFO has prepared this budget. Yes, there are some mistakes that we were going line by line trying to correct. Please know it's a working document and the corrections will be made for the ultimate budget that will be presented next week at the first budget hearing. And as the mayor said, we'll be voting and moving that forward at that time. But this is, again, just to go through the proposed budgets or recommendations that me and CFO Wallace have reviewed. We're not making any major changes from last year's budget, only because there's been no increase in revenue that's substantial enough to increase anything. We want to continue to provide level of service at the same level if possible. So as you go through line by line, just bear in mind that where you take away something, you can put it somewhere else, but then that service is hampered. So I'll let Mayor Nickerson go through line by line now.
Before we get started, any other questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
I had a novel idea. Why don't we just simply decrease by 2,500 each line item except in four areas, and that way we don't touch the critical stuff, and we stop guessing about what they what the departments might or might not need to have. I picked the number 2,500 because I'm sensitive to the fact that we've never done it this way before, because I think it's, for me in my past record, it was always a disadvantage to try to tell the department services what they should or should not have. We gave them a number and we said, listen, bring your budget down to this. And it would be some small number. The next year, the department heads would all get together and they would say, why don't we introduce this amount to the council and say we all can get through the budget year with this decrease. And we were doing that because we had a focus on building our reserve fund. If the reserve funds don't begin to build themselves, we're in trouble, just period. You know that from having the CARP, that we can be in very serious. And the other way was always simpler. It didn't put a burden on anybody more than it did said, hey, listen, guys, we're asking you to tell us what you don't need. 2,500. That's how we started out. They came back to us a couple of years later and they said, you always told us 2,500. They came to us and said 3,000. And that like blew us away, right? It just blew us away. And that didn't happen in one city. That happened in several cities because I introduced it, as opposed to us trying to guess what they need and what they don't. Because personally, I don't think we need all of those public activities. I really don't. As a matter of fact, I'm so sensitive to it that we do something for Christmas and Easter or something like that. But you know how insulting that is for other religious that we have on the council or in the village, that we don't celebrate any of theirs with any kind of activity. So I'm thinking to take out some things so that we don't go through that all the time and don't act like we are not sensitive to other religions in the city. And you all know that I have all 5 monotheistic religions in my PhD, so I'm not making this up. I'm being sensitive. So rather than going line by line by line trying to tell them, do you need, just ask everybody, except in, like I said, in 4 different areas that I wouldn't touch no matter what. Like, for instance, I wouldn't touch the building department because it's a revenue generating department. I wouldn't touch those that are revenue generating. But I wouldn't touch police service because it's going to always be a needful thing because they are unique in that they are part of a union, and we have to be sensitive to the union. To me, $2,500 minus each item, except the 4 that I'm not really wanting to touch because they are sensitive, would seem like a easier way to come to some resolution about how we're going to do the budget. And we're doing it from the perspective of how we can build the reserve fund. And I would take much less time than what we're talking about and what we've been doing for over the past several years. That's my input.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. The only thing I would say to that, and public affairs is page 6 of the 14 pages. So we will get to that. The only thing I would say to that is, we should go page by page at least to see what's there and see if there's anything that stands out, because there are services and different things that we may not want to cut, or somebody might not want to cut. And there are different areas where someone might feel strongly about and may not want to cut. And I think that we should at least give them the opportunity to look at that page and look at that category and to give their opinion on that.
I thought that's what I said. Why should we guess? Just give them a number. Can you come down to this? They'll come back to us and say, I can't come down to that, but I can come down to this. And to me, that makes a whole lot more sense. That doesn't put us through the agony of trying to say what they do or do not have. You just simply say, listen, we want you to save $2,500. We want you to cut that so that we can do other things. And that cut is specifically because we are trying to build. Whatever they cut, it goes into the reserve fund. Let's do that for the next 5 years, and you'd be surprised how fast our reserve fund will grow. So that's all I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree that the reserve fund is important. The only thing I would say is that just to stay here right now without even going through the budget and say we should just cut $2,500 from every department without even taking the time to look at it, I think is not giving everybody an equal chance to really look at it. I think, secondly, I think the time that we're spending kind of debating this is okay, but we could probably be on page 2 or 3 by now. And the only thing I would say on top of that is that it is important to build a reserve fund, but if it comes at a cost of sacrificing any type of day-to-day actions that we have to do, then we have to kind of look at that, because it's kind of like the equivalent of, let's say if there's a gentleman who may be homeless, but he has $500,000 in the account, and he says, well, I have $500,000 in my account, but I can't operate. Well, then there's no reason to have a reserve fund if it's going to sacrifice operation on a day-to-day basis that the manager and the village has to go through. I think we have to understand that also, it's 2021. The village of El Portal, we have business coming in, it's infrastructure, there's a lot going on. It's a lot different from what the village used to be. And so I think we have to keep that in mind. Also, our operating costs are different from how it used to be back in the days. That being said, if I don't have any objection, we can get started on page 1. Yep. So if you look at page 1, you see general fund reserves. Is there anything on here? As I said, the main focus, of course, is the tentative proposed budget for fiscal year 2022, because we kind of want to see where we're going to be at next year. Okay. Is there anything as you look through here, these general items, you guys?
Yes, if I may, the only thing I see here is $55,000 in total about state disaster relief. Is it some money that we get a year, or this we're expecting this to get it from whatever the Irma
Yeah, because you're saying, because we still have, what, like 650,000 left to receive? So yeah, we should be getting a lot more in for the disaster relief. Mr. Wallace, it should be like about 650 that we have to get in for Irma. Is there a reason why it says 50,000?
Well, we don't know.
No,
how much-
that's on the recovery. On the recovery, we have 600 and something somewhere else. No. Irma relief. Oh no, that was so far until that 500 and 540 and 30,000. But then for the next fiscal year, it reflects like if we were gonna get 55,000. So
Yeah,
right.
yeah. That's why I see what you're looking at, Councilperson Perrella. Mr. Wallace.
So you're entitled to whatever you're gonna get. We just don't know what it is you're gonna get or when you're gonna get it. So this was a very conservative approach to what you're gonna get. You know, most-
Okay, so this is what's pending from the appeal that we sent or whatever.
Well, right, but we don't know when we're gonna
Okay.
get it, how much you're gonna get.
Okay.
You budget too much, you don't get it, well, that's gonna be bad. So we do expect to get a lot more. And of course, you owe money to the bank. So that'll probably be largely a wash anyway. But I think you're gonna get more than just the loan amount back. I don't know when you're gonna get it or how much. So that's just a placeholder, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I do have one thing to add.
Yes.
So I was speaking to the manager a little bit about this, and it's getting Airbnbs in El Portal to register and pay some sort of initial registration fee and yearly registration fee. And I think that in addition to cutting the budget, which is a worthwhile thing for us to be, endeavoring upon, we need to figure out how to increase certain revenues. And I think that that is definitely a way that we can significantly increase the revenue. I was just looking at Airbnb last night, and there are a significant number registered in El Portal, one on my street, that I think that that's something that we should explore. So I wanted to know from the manager or the mayor, what would be the best route for us to take to get that on the books? Do I need to formally bring something at one of the committee meetings, or is this discussion sufficient to get Ernie and the manager to start working on that?
So I don't know if Christine wants to take this, but it's so interesting. Councilperson Martin, me and you are on the same page. I have a meeting set up with, I'm trying to set up a meeting. They were at a conference this week. The village clerk and the village manager was on that email. They're on a conference, and the chief, they're on a conference this week, but Placervia, Camilla and Juan, I'm trying to set up a meeting with them, a Zoom meeting, to try to get, try to see exactly what we can do and the language. And I know there's also, the state has their own thing going on, but I was trying to do that for it tentatively, and I was hoping to bring it to your planning and zoning committee.
Oh, that'd be great.
Well,
I was
In
going to
many
do that.
stores, they're actually charging $700 for a registration fee, which I think is
$750. Yeah.
$750. They're a neighboring city. I think it's a great model for us to follow and a way to really boost up that line item. I think that would be the business tax receipt line item.
Yes.
Definitely.
And I think that also, I asked Ms. Sherriar, and I think the village manager also asked Ms. Sherriar, and Ms. Sherriar dealt with this in the past, and she's putting together, when I was at Village Hall the other day, I saw her, I said, because she put together a document that kind of talks about like what she did in the past, because she actually tackled this in the past also in other municipality as a code enforcement. So all that information should be coming to your committee, Chairperson Martin, and hopefully that'll be the first step, committee, and then council, the way we usually do things.
That sounds awesome.
Okay.
Madam Manager?
I'll add to that, Councilperson Perella also expressed an interest in pursuing some kind of, registration and regulations in terms of the registration in the village. We don't have, we only have business tax receipts right now for about 6 short-term rentals. That's, not enough. Obviously, we know there are way more than that. And so Ms. Shariar is going out and doing enforcement, but we're doing some kind of registration and an renewal that'll help us greatly. So there will be something on the upcoming P&Z. And Council so working on something with the village attorney to come up with something. Everybody's on the same page, so I'm sure it'll all come together next. But I think it's a great revenue generator as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna come to you right now, Attorney Gill. Let me just say really quickly, the one of the main reasons why I wanted to meet with Serbia, because my question was kind of like, we need to find a definition between Airbnb, short-term rental, and like hotel motels, because you can stay in an Airbnb for one night, you can stay for 2 nights, you can stay in a hotel for 1 night, you can stay for 2 nights. So there's little things that we have to kind of figure out the difference. And if how are we going to figure that out? Attorney Geller.
Yes, let me just mention, I have communication that Councilman Perella sent to me about this very issue. Goes back a week or so, I think. And there are some things we can do, but understand a lot of things we might want to do are heavily constrained by the state. The state has preempted this area in large measure. I requested, after getting the inquiry from Councilman Perella, some information from the Florida League of Cities, which has been very active on this. I received their memo a few days ago. I'm going to circulate that memo to everyone. It's not the case that we can't do anything. As you point out, Miami Shores is doing something. But understand that some of these attempts by local government are probably going to be met with objections and possibly lawsuits, because some of this area is untested. And, we don't want to be, if we can help it, we don't want to be the test case with some lawsuit on this. Better to have a big city like Miami Beach or the city of Miami be the test case, because we don't want to encounter the fees that it would result in our having to pay. So, we can try to follow some others, but, we are, because we're a smaller city, we're exactly who some of these national groups or statewide groups would look to target, because they think that they could have a better chance of succeeding with us because we're smaller. Anyway, I'll put that memo around to everybody from the League of Cities. You can certainly try to follow suit on some of the others, but I do urge just a little bit of caution in going too much further than what the kind of prevailing wisdom on this is.
Thank you. Yes.
Lord, I know what Joe's heading. Did a little research on it myself, and we would have a problem just with parking. The Airbnbs are becoming very ridiculous. They're not just staying for like a vacation, they're having parties all night long. Biscayne Times did a real good article on it about 2 months ago, and how it's just disrupting the neighborhood, period. And these people come in like they're going to rent the place and it's going to be theirs, but it's not. They're throwing all kinds of parties, orgies, parking is a mess, police is called out all the time, etc., etc. A lot of negative stuff. And this is not just happening, and they're targeting small cities, thinking that the place like El Portal is not aware of what's really going on. But the article, as I said, if you all did not get a chance to read the Biscayne Times, they're pretty informative, and they make a very good point that they're targeting B&Bs, AR, I'm trying to say,
Airbnb,
targeting
yes.
small cities because we may or may not be keeping up, or they think that they will be inconspicuous. That is not true. When the neighbors get through making their complaints, then they realize that we did not even consider that they would be taking advantage, and they do. They take advantage of the neighborhood, period. So I would definitely not want to be a part of that, trying to wiggle out of it. So I thank Joe for staying on top of it and look forward to the memo.
It sounds good, you guys. Sounds good. Anybody else for anything on the general fund reserves
Yes,
or
I do
general
have
fund revenues? Yes.
I do have one additional thing. So on the line item for code compliance fines, in fiscal year 2020, the revenue was 85,000. And then the one proposed or year to end, that number decreases significantly. And I just want to know why that happens, especially because I thought the code enforcement officer was pretty efficient or effective.
I believe, and now correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wallace, but I believe that's from lien settlement.
That's
That
correct.
85,000. We would never get that much money in code compliance fines. That's a lien settlement that was,
That's an outlier.
yes.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
And we're expecting one more, Mr.
We are
Geller.
expecting one more. Yeah, we are expecting one more, so it may go up.
For this, right, for this fiscal year, but you know, they have not submitted any payment yet.
Which one is that?
That's the
Clients.
Goodman,
one that says code compliance fines. And I see what Councilperson Martin's going, because, you know, down a little bit further, you see lien searches. And so maybe, I don't know if that should be, maybe that should be, you know, lien fines.
well,
Instead-
I don't know. It wouldn't go into lien searches because that is.
No,
you know,
no, what I'm saying is maybe the item should be called lien fines or something like that instead of code compliance fines, because I think that's where the confusion, because I would be, you know, confusion may happen.
It is
But-
sufficient for me that it's an outlier.
Okay.
It was a fine that was received, but it's just a unique one. So I get that.
It is. And
CFO
Oh,
Wallace,
go ahead.
One thing the city may want to consider, it's been pretty successful in some other cities, is a lien amnesty program. You know, the big thing about code enforcement is mostly you're wanting to get compliance from people who are violating your local codes. And then they start accruing $250 a day fines or whatever. And it can be pretty substantial over a period of a year, 2 years, 5 years, or whatever you want to get. And the chances of recovering all that money are pretty slim in many cases. When you offer the lien amnesty program, you encourage people to come into compliance, number one, where they still may not be into compliance. And number two, you know, you get a good part of what they owe up front rather than waiting years and years or even trying to force a foreclosure sale because they haven't paid any of their fines at all. And in fact, a lot of times the property may not even be worth what the fine is levied to. So that may be something you want to consider to recover a lot of the liens that you already have outstanding that haven't been paid and the ones you have in the future too. I can tell you it's been very successful in the cities I'm aware that have used it.
I like that idea. I like that idea. I would love for the code compliance officer to kind of explore ways in which we can do that, or just fill out some of the revenues as it relates to code compliance or registering Airbnbs, like we spoke about earlier. I think that's a worthwhile pursuit.
Yeah, and let me add one word on that also. As the CFO says, the philosophy on code compliance, it's not a revenue source.
Mhm.
It's a tool to get people to bring their properties in compliance. Remember, you cannot foreclose a lien on homestead property. So if somebody is owning and living in their home, the law doesn't allow us to foreclose. So sometimes you're stuck sitting there waiting literally for years and years. You can do that for commercial property, but again, it's not an easy process. It does cost some money, but on top of that, sometimes you find that there's any kind of technical mistake that's been made that can frustrate the lien entirely. The general rule of thumb, and it's only a rule of thumb, it's not a law or rule or regulation, but you try to get something in the neighborhood of between 5 and 10% of the amount. In addition, of course, you want to recover, be sure you recover any actual costs the city has had, but very often there aren't actual costs. I mean, if you have to go in and start mowing the lawn or fencing the property or something like that, that's different. But otherwise, your actual costs don't tend to be very large. And if you have someone that cannot afford to pay, you're just talking about them falling further and further behind. They get further fines, and then they can't afford to bring their property up to code, which is really what your goal is. So, you know, most cities compromise those running daily fines pretty readily if you can get some revenue in. And that's been a focus on those occasions when somebody ends up really way out of compliance and not in a position. What you do is if you're going to tell a potential new owner, for instance, that's going to come in and clean up the property and remove a neighborhood eyesore and end up with a better looking village and with neighbors who don't have complaints, and you tell them, oh, but if you come into this property, you're going to have to pay us every nickel of, you know, $250,000. People won't buy. It continues to be an eyesore. Ultimately, you may have to go to Unsafe Structures Board and try to secure a demolition order. And those are not conducive to having a good looking and well enforced village code. So you don't want to make it impossible for people to sell their property or for somebody to come in and actually improve the property. That's one of the reasons why it's in the interest of a municipality to make some kind of deal on that issue.
Oh, for sure. And I want to be clear, when I'm talking about lien amnesty, I thought part of that was kind of eliminating those fines at a reduced rate. For sure, no one wants anyone's house to be foreclosed on, but the idea is instead of collecting zero on that debt, it's better to collect a portion of it. And it might not be a gigantic moneymaker, but everything is something, at least in my book. But I definitely wouldn't want anybody to suffer any sort of additional hardship. But definitely, I think it could be a tool to get people into compliance and also to extinguish some of those liens at I'm talking like a super reduced rate.
My bad, Councilwoman.
No.
I ended my comment to be supportive of your idea.
Well, it's the thing, we're on the same page.
I thought it was a very well taken comment. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear that what I was
it was still well taken.
With yes, good idea, because that's exactly right. I couldn't agree with what you said more.
Okay, awesome.
I'm sorry if it came off sounding critical of the idea. No, that's exactly what we should be doing. Yes, ma'am.
No worries.
Thank you, guys. All right, so definitely those things are going to start to be tackled. And like I said, as far as the Airbnb, Chairperson Martin, in your P&Z committee, we hope to bring that up and start to discuss that. So thank you, guys. Is there anything else on the general fund revenues page? Again, let's keep an eye out for the proposed budget. That's kind of like, what we're ultimately here for. Is there anything that sticks out to you guys? No, we good? All right, let's go to the next page, you guys. Next page is council. We call it legislative department. I don't see any changes on here.
Why does it have to remain at 15,000, Mayor?
I mean, it doesn't have to. We can go to the budget hearing and discuss that. That's how much, that's our stipend, or how much, we get per year altogether.
That's not an answer. I don't know why it's 15,000. Who's doing that kind of travel or whatever it's used for? I don't.
The 15,000. As I said. Well, I gave you an answer. I said we can discuss. We can move it to the.
That's for all 5 of us. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's for all the council.
That's not travel, that's
Okay.
payment. That's the checks we get, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. All 5 of us together, we get 15,000 a year.
That 235 or whatever it is comes to 15,000 with taxes gone. Is that what
That's
you-
3,000 a year per canceled person. If you're gonna cut it down to 2,000 or 1,000 or do it for free, I'm okay with anything.
It's 3,000 a year per council person. There's 5 of us, so that's 15,000.
Well, like I said, I gave my suggestion to how we can lower the budget. It was ignored. I will continue to do that. But Perella, I appreciate you much for understanding what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, again, if we want to lower it,
Show an example. I'm sure the other departments would too. And yet, as I said, we'll take that up another time. There are a lot of pages here. We got 14 to go. We're not talking about that right now, but that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Till we have a decent reserve, that's where I will stay.
no problem. As I said, anybody can move at the budget hearing. If you want to lower the council compensation, we can lower us to 0. And if it votes and it goes through at the budget hearing, we can, do this for 0 money a year.
One thing I will say, if I look at that year-to-date column, when I see the travel and per diem for the mayor, I see that $0 were used. And also the discretionary fund is super low. So I will say kudos to everyone on this council for being very judicious with the usage of the money. And I know that, Mr. Mayor, I see you everywhere. So you must be driving this car somewhere. And the fact that there's no travel or per diem funds used, I think that's a testament to you as well. So yes, kudos to everybody for being really, really good stewards of public funds.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. We really appreciate your words. And just going on that very quickly, you guys, next Wednesday, I have to drive down to Homestead to attend the Rapid Transit Zone meeting with Commissioner Gilbert. Tuesday the 14th, I'll have to go to Miami Gardens for a permitting and construction committee that I'm now on for Miami-Dade County League of Cities. I'll then have to go down to Homestead again that Tuesday for a meeting with Commissioner Raquel Regalado, also about the rapid transit zone down in Homestead. So, things are still closed up as far as COVID and things like that. I understand that, but things are opening back up. So we just have to also keep that in mind. If you look at the fiscal year
Mayor?
20 for travel for mayor, that wasn't me. That was a previous.
I hope you take some of that off your hands once I retire next year, because you shouldn't have to do all that running by yourself.
It's okay. It's all right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Councilperson Light, for what I appreciate. Is there anything else on here that that stands out, you guys? For the council, for legislative, before we move on? Good. Next, we're moving on to administration and finance. Madam Manager, or first, of course, like I say, for everything else, if there's anything on here that stands out to anybody on the council, you guys raise your questions or comments. Madam Manager, though, you work more intimately with the administration and finance budget. So if there are any comments that you want to make, also feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I know that there is a little mistake here on village manager travel. Year to date, I did go to Orlando for a conference. So that is registered on this form to be about $400 because I had a airfare and a hotel, or it's a little bit more than 400, but I know it's not the entire 900, but that would be in that space. And just to speak about the reserves, there are some other options here in this budget and in other funding opportunities. So again, there are certain things like the self-storage that other things were pursued, such as the document scanning, then we wouldn't need the storage. So then that could be removed. But when the cars are moved out of the parking, then we wouldn't have to pay the lease for that property from the railroad. So those are some opportunities, but with that comes, what the alternative is. So, I understand the need for reserve. I'm pursuing that as well. And I'm doing some other opportunities so that we can reallocate funds.
Madam
Mr.
Manager,
Mr. Mayor, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Christia. That's what I'm talking about. We don't make the decision. Let the people that know make the decision what they can and cannot. That's my. Thank you so much, Village Manager. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being a. What do you call that? What do you call that? I'm looking at my colleague, my female colleague. What do you call that when you just arbitrarily take advantage of someone who knows what they need and what they can provide? We're only trying to build a reserve, and then after that, we go back to normal. Thank you, Christia. I
Well,
appreciate
but I'm sorry to interrupt, but building the reserve is also going through line by line, as the mayor has saying, and try to find ways to $1,000 here, 1,000 there will actually help build the reserve. So
on
it's
that
not
note,
just in general one part.
on that note, I'll jump
Go ahead,
in.
Maureen.
I'll jump in. Madam Manager, that was excellent. If you could get us a really quick memo on just how much the document system costs and how much it will save, as a result, that would be something great. So
I
that
sent
we
you
can.
that during the week.
Oh, awesome.
I sent that to every member of the council about some funding opportunities. I would ask you to please look at and be prepared for something to next admin and finance.
Perfect.
But in the meantime, as we go line by line, you'll see that certain things will be removed if we pursue those other funding options.
Well, that is perfect, because that is what I would love to look at. I would love your insight on how we can generate this reserve without necessarily impacting too negatively any funding source or department or individual. With that being said, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question about one of the line items on page 3? The communication public relations, this line item, do we need this, and what is it?
Communication public relation, coming from Rome, Madam Manager, but that was when we had a public relations individual.
I can speak about it if you want.
Yeah, I don't personally think we need it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
we had with the previous administration or previous council, we had a plethora of public records requests and media requests and interview requests, and so our then interim attorney usually would handle that, but he strongly urged us to get a public relations consultant to kind of handle these things beyond what we presently see. And the reason we haven't used it to date is because we haven't needed it. But back then we did utilize a company to help us with responding to press requests, when they're asking us for a statement on law.
I get it.
And nowadays, Councilperson Martin, we're I try to we try to run things. It's much more quiet now. It's much more. It's much more mellow now.
That's what I was saying.
So we probably won't need it. In the immediate future, we probably won't need it, to tell the truth.
I think we could that between the mayor and the manager and I, we've handled anything that's come up, and I don't see why we need to spend money on that, frankly.
So let's do this.
We're trying to keep this low key. This council is trying to keep it really low key. So maybe we need to get rid of that.
Let's do this. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, $3 more to the reserves.
Right.
Here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Listen, guys. You'll see me come in and out. My husband's sick this morning. You all know about the
Sorry to hear that.
Back and forth. So, but I'm not going away. I just gotta tend to a call right now.
Well, just know anything that we find that we can put in reserves, even if you're not here, I got your back. I got your back. We're gonna do it for you.
All right.
Let me say this, you guys, before you go any further. I just want to say this real quickly. There are some things that it's been a big focus, and I've tried to have a big focus on grants and on bringing in state money.
Right.
And I know you guys saw some of the emails where I was like, you guys were getting more money in than like ever before in El Portal and things like that. So we're hitting that really hard. Myself, the village manager, Attorney Geller, Clerk Jacoby, Chief Maxon, we're hitting that very, very hard as far as grants and bringing in money. And so there are and will be opportunities, and there are currently opportunities that are working in to where we'll be able to use some of that money, and it's hefty amounts of money that's coming in. I wish Councilperson like Ward was here to hear this, but if
And Mayor, note that Mr. Nortellis has joined us too, talking about
Yes.
getting state money, so.
Yes, yes. And so that being said, with that money, the grant and the state funding, and even like with, you know, the national funding money, you know, from Uncle Joe, as Attorney Geller likes to say, the national funding money that we're getting in, with that, we can use that for some things, some operating things that we have going on. And therefore, what we have for the operating things can be moved into the reserve later, you guys. So
Biden
keep
bucks.
that in mind.
Those are
Okay.
Biden bucks.
Yeah, Biden bucks, as Attorney
I
Geller
like
says.
I
We're
really like
getting in a large amount of Biden bucks. Exactly, absolutely. Thank you guys for that. Is there anything else that you guys have a question or comment about on the Administration and Finance page that's standing out? Again, let's keep a heavy focus on the.
Yes, I do. And Madam Manager, if I mean, as we go through the RFQs for the village attorney and the contracted accountant, you know, it's been my thing to lower those costs at any cost. So as we going through the RFQs, there's anything that we need to discuss here, or it's recommended to pass the budget the way it is and then deal with the pricing of those two services later on?
Yeah,
because for what I have in mind, it's a little bit of a chunk of money between those two. If you know, negotiations get to the point where, you know, we're closer to where I wanted it to be on those two categories. And I also see the executive salary, which is the manager, right?
Yes.
With an increase, the COLA increase, I guess, from 85 to 91,800.
Yeah, well, you know, the manager in her contract, you remember Councilperson Perella, the manager in her contract, remember when we were still part of the last council,
right?
Remember we had that meeting where you know, we were like out of compliance with her contract for like 2 years or something like that. And so we were trying to catch up. We still haven't fully caught up.
Well,
with that
not out of compliance, because I'm sorry to interrupt the mayor,
Yeah.
because it's based on, you know, whether we can afford it or not. The performance, which has been very good.
Yeah, no, but this is what I was going to say.
You know,
Yeah, no, I got you. But this is what I was going to say. I was going to say that part differently. What I was going to say is we were out of compliance when it came to like her PTO and stuff like that. Remember that?
Yeah.
We were out of compliance with her. That's what I was going to say, that part. We were out of compliance with her contract, and when we did that on that meeting, I believe it was myself, you, or I think, I don't know if Mayor Cabillos was there, but it was the rest of us were there. And we did at that meeting. Then we addressed also, you know, the performance with the raise. That's when we addressed that there. And so that's where that comes from. Just wanted to explain where that jump came from. And I also wanted to say also with that we are still out of compliance when it comes to some of her, because we only did some of it that night, if you remember, when it came to her PTO and things like that. We only did some of it. We didn't do what was to catch up, to keep up with the contract. We only did some of it to kind of catch up a little bit, but we didn't do all of it to catch up. So we're still out of compliance with some of that. But that's the only thing I wanted to say. Go ahead, Councilperson Perella.
No. I had asked the manager about, you know, those two other line items, the village attorney and the contracted in the account.
Okay,
as far as.
Well, what I can say about the attorneys, you know, we're know the RFP or RFQ has closed, and so you'll be deciding that. That'll be before you all to determine that selection. So that comes from you, you know, not for me, but I'm just replicating what
I know. No, but I'm saying, yeah, exactly. Okay, but we're still, it's not something that we set here on the budget, like to a lower amount. We just have to discuss first whether, you know, with the potential.
Yeah, so for example,
so, you know, like set up the.
Let me
ahead.
jump in here, Madam Manager, if I may.
Okay.
Yeah, so for example, let's say it's 96. Let's say if you want to take it to 90,000, for example, something like that, Councilperson Perrella. You know, you can say that now. This is a workshop, you know, we're not voting on it. I personally, you know, for the record, would be against that. I would probably be for keeping it at 96,000. But if that's if that's a contentious like line item, then we can vote for that at the first budget hearing. You know, like let's say you want to take it to like 89. I'm stuck at 96. We can't agree right now at the workshop. First budget hearing, we can vote on that. Majority vote wins on the first budget hearing. All right.
Got it.
So first budget hearing, if you feel that, we bring it up and we can vote on it right then and there at the first budget hearing, and we decide it right then and there.
Okay.
For the accounting one, the RFP will close at the end of the month. So when that comes, then I'll look at the fee for that as well, Councilperson Perrella. But when we get, before we leave this page, I do want to add something. I provided everyone an administrative budget consideration on August 31st, a memo of some of the administrative needs of the, for the budget consideration here. And one of them on this page particularly is the consultant, the project consultant. This is our grants writer and project consultant. This would be Mr. Ruano.
I'm sorry, I didn't find that email, so I was looking for, I don't know. I don't have the paper in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. I have about I have 4 issues on 5. And one is the consultant, the project grants writer and consultant. He has been tasked to do more, grants writing, grants research, and project management for the grants because we, once we get them, we have to report and we have to do a number of things to stay in compliance to receive those funds. So he has presented another proposal. This one is for $24,000. He outlined all of the items that he will be doing for us to receive that fund. He actually brings in far more money than that. So it really does pay for itself in that respect, but I'm asking that you consider the $24,000 and increase his line item from 10 to $24,000.
So
these are the items he'll be pursuing, or he is pursuing or will be pursuing first.
So, in moving the village forward, you guys, and like I said, going after, all the grants possible. I had a meeting with him and the village manager, going after all the grants possible, trying to find all the funding possible. As I stated before, we're getting in more funding now than we ever have before. But what I also found that there are many opportunities to get in more funding that we're not taking. And we're not taking it because it's not just when we go for these grants and these grants that I realized and I reached out to people that we would have been approved for, and we just didn't go for them. And that's because not only going for all of these grants, but once you go for them and when you're awarded them, you have to write reports that maintain them. And the reports you have to write that maintain them, whether they're monthly or every 3 months or every 6 months, to maintain them over these grants to where, like, you might have to write a report for the next 3 years, every 3 months, and things like that. Those things are things that a grant writer has to do. The village manager can't do it because the language and things like that are specific to grant writers, who write the grant in the first place. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, while you were gone, I was talking about how I've been really active as far as going after money and things like that. And I was saying, like, in the emails, you guys have seen a little bit that we've gotten a lot of money, and I've made a point to say that we're getting more money in than ever before in El Portal. And for you, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, what you would like to hear would be that with all this money that's coming in, that we're bringing in, this new set of money that's coming in, we can put it to operate for whatever the grant is for these operating costs, and then we can move those operating costs from those operating costs that are there now currently to the reserve. so it can move even more money to the reserve from grant money that is not coming from our taxpayers or anything like that. All right. But
Very good. Very good.
but that being said, from him going from $10,000 to $24,600, you guys, he has brought in so much more money than the $10,000 this year.
We have an estimate of how much money he brought in.
Yes. Oh, am I? Okay, I wanted to make sure I wasn't muted. He brought in 157,000 for CDB. He brings in the matching, funds we get from forestry. We're attempting to get a $100,000 grant. This is the Florida Community Forestry application that he's going to pursue for us. He brought in $50,000 for the police hardening grant.
What about the community block development grants? We
Yes,
have that, and we have another one that's
With-
going out also. That's going to be that we should be receiving pretty soon also. And the first one was 157,000.
Right. So that's over 200,000 just for those, another 20 for the trees. And then we're pursuing more funding for our tree inventory and tree management report, but we don't know how much that's going to be because we're presently trying to get proposals to see how much it will cost to do those things so that when we apply for the grants by October 15th, we'll have the what.
And that, and I'll stop sharing my screen now, but that doesn't even count, Madam Manager. When we were on the meeting previously with the county, and they were like, guys, why did you go for this grant? Like, why, why didn't you go? And it was like, well, we're at our limit with our grant writer. And they were like, you guys were a shoo-in for this. And it was to help out with our flooding and our sewage.
Resiliency, right.
The resiliency grant.
So, excuse me. So, the grant writing knowingly that those grants were available just because he was at a max with what he gets paid. He wouldn't like notify us and let us know and see what it, because wasn't he wasn't the grant writer being paid by grants, and then there was some discussion about not doing it that way and just have a flat fee. And wasn't he paid before the $10,000 got set by grant
in years
by
before
each program that he will get, right?
In years before, he had been paid per grant, but last year, the issue was, well, we're cutting, we're trying to get bare bones. And so he gave us the proposal of 15,000 last year. And we said, can you just do 10? We can't, we got to cap it there. So we were trying to be, just keep it small, just do those few grants that you have. And that's all we can afford. And so we stayed within those parameters.
But again, my question is, I don't know whether, it's knowing that some grants were available and not letting us not because or at least did he communicate it to you saying, hey, there's this opportunity, but I'm only getting paid $10,000, I'm not gonna do it because, and then you guys lose the opportunity? Or is it something
he didn't
like
say that to us? But
no, I'm saying not, that's.
But I know what you're saying. No.
But,
I think he would tell us, and he has informed us. He's researched grants for us. I mean, we didn't pursue them, or we couldn't pursue them because also some issues about match. So, but he would tell us about things. We just weren't able to pursue it, and maybe not all of the grants. Like he didn't tell us about the resiliency one. He doesn't only work for us, though. He works for other municipalities too.
Yeah, I understand. It's a big firm.
Go ahead, Councilman. Go ahead.
Mayor,
I'm sorry. And how about the grants, or are those matching grants where we have to the 50-50, the grants that he go, or there's some grants that are just we don't have to pay back, or?
No, most of his are all, we are careful about what's 50-50 because we don't have much 50-50 money. So he has not pursued those right at this time. We're going to look at a parks one or the tree inventory one that we may have the opportunity to match. But yeah, the CDBG is not it's a straight out grant, no 50-50 match, no payback. The same with the hardening police station. The tree grant has 50-50 that costs us about $10,000 annually with the match. But that's
Yeah, I mean,
So
under the
there's-
council- oh, sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead, Mayor. I'm
So
sorry.
I was gonna jump. I was gonna go to Councilperson Lightfoot Ward first, and then I was gonna go ahead, Councilperson.
What are we talking about here? Are we talking about fairness to paying the grant writer? Or are we talking about how we manage the grants? Because if he does not have an administrative fee for every grant, like for instance, it's $350,000, and he says you pay me 10% of that amount. I see you, Mayor. Then that makes sense, okay? If you give me a $350,000 grant and I tell you gotta give me 10% of that, if he hasn't written that in, then yes, we are not being fair. I think that's what one of us is trying to get to. Are we being fair? And just because he's working those grants does not mean that he's working those grants for just because he's our grant writer. We have to be fair to the grant writer as well. Now, if he gets to a place that he wants to be employed, that's a whole different ballgame. We're not looking at employing a grant writer. We're looking at sustaining our grant ability. And quite frankly, the village manager cannot do all grants. It's just, if you just saw one grant, am I right in there? If you just saw the paperwork involved in one grant, you would know that it's a job in and of itself. So what we're trying to do here is
I'm
not
sorry,
dispute the 14. They're not trying to dispute the 14,000. I think we're trying to decide whether this is fair, because if he can write 100 of them and we outnumber and it outnumbers what we can handle, listen, he needs to be employed. But otherwise, what he's doing now, I think, is yeoman, it's a man, right? Yeoman's effort, and I don't have a problem with the 14,000. He's bringing money that we don't have to use from our own funds to get things done that we need to get done here in the village. So kudos to the grant writer.
Go ahead, Councilperson Perrella. Thank you very much, Councilman.
No, my question was whether it's a more efficient for us to have it like that with a fixed amount, 24,000, and if that will get to the point that just because he's maxed out with the amount of grants that he's been working for, for us, then there's some other opportunity that like it just happened now that because he was at a $10,000 grant, whatever you call it, I don't know. So he's not pursuing other grants. So, or just like, Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward said, just paying by a percentage of each grant like he was before.
So let
That
me
was
say,
my question.
yeah, no, I got you. Thank you very much, Councilperson Perrella. Let me say this. So, for example, so if he's at 10,000 and if he's at his limit for that fiscal year, if there are other grants that are coming in, for him to write that, we have to go over budget. I wasn't going to go over budget, you guys. I wasn't going to do that, right?
Me either. Right.
So what we negotiated with him was, if he, like, what would we need to pay you flat fee to be all inclusive, unlimited grant amount writing?
That's right.
Said $24,000 and maintenance of the grants, $24,000. To Councilman Lightfoot Ward's point, you guys, if you start to get into, okay, well, it's going to be per grant, then he's going to come back with, okay, well, I want a percentage of everything I bring in if it's based on what I bring in. And so now we're going to have to pay out of the grant that we get. A grant supposed to go strictly for flooding.
That thing, that's it.
We're going to have to take money out of that grant going strictly for flooding to give to him.
Right.
Okay.
That's not legal.
So
That's not legal.
So it's not
That
legal.
is
What's going to
not
happen
legal.
is that he gets 3% of a grant for flooding, and the grant for flooding that we bring in is for $500,000. We're going to have to go into our budget and reserves to get that out to give to him. So $24,000. Go ahead.
Legal concerns about paying a percentage, okay? Because the grant funds, most grants will say something like you cannot take a percentage basis. It's like a contingency fee, and you have legal issues with doing it that way. And just the other quick comment is getting a grant is great, but if you don't properly maintain it, if you don't file everything you need to file, they can come back to you and say, pay us back the money that we gave you because you failed to document that you used it for the intended purposes. That doesn't make it a loan. It's still an outright grant, but you must comply and show that you hit your marks and did what you promised to do, or you have a problem. So just those two comments. Thank you.
And also, we have to remember, I'm going to go to Councilperson Martin. I think she wants something to say, but we also have to remember also that if he goes per grant and he goes for maintaining the grant, he might charge us for hourly maintenance rate of writing it, or hourly rate of writing the grant. And those grants take a long time. Councilperson Martin.
Oh, I think if we just look at the numbers, it makes sense. If he's bringing in that much money for the city, especially if those are unmatched grants, that additional 14,000 spend is more than worth it. So I think we're all on the same page to increase that amount.
Thank you very much, you guys. I'm seeing
Yes, put it that way, yes.
Oh, he's not all of us. Hey, Councilperson Perrella, if you want to bring it up at the first budget hearing, we can take it to a vote. You have all your rights to do that. If you still want to bring it up the first budget hearing, you have your right to do that. Absolutely. I'm seeing Marcos. I'm seeing Eli Nortellis on our panel, and I'm seeing one of the attendees. Is there a reason why I'm seeing two?
I don't see that. The other is the CFO.
Okay, I see one on my attendee. You guys don't have one on the panelists? No, I have one on my
I
panelist.
see Mr. Nortellis.
I have him on my panelist as well.
On my panelist, right, Mr. Nortellis?
He's on my panelist as
I
well.
see the panelists and I see an attendees. I don't know why there's two, but anyway, what else do we have here, you guys? Anything that sticks out? Again, all these numbers are good to look at, but the one that is the most important is the one we've been focusing on, which is the fiscal year 2022. Anything else?
I have a
Yes.
question about the miscellaneous staff events. I see that the year-to-date spend is like $35, but the projected year-end spend is around $3,500. What are we planning something?
No. That's actually another mistake, Mr. Wallace. Let's make a correction. These are just staff trainings, a birthday, those type of things. And I know we've had birthdays and, farewells and what have you. They aren't much money, but I know it's more than 35. So we'll have to fix that, Mr. Wallace. And as we go, let's make sure to point anything like that out so we can remember these are things that need to be repaired.
Okay, but this amount contemplates just those things like framing, recognition, morale things. Okay.
Absolutely. And I don't know where we're at, but I don't think we're at 3,000. So, I'm willing to reduce it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Well,
ma'am.
I think that's a great reduction. That might help with the 24,000 or the 14,000.
Yeah. How much, Councilperson Martin, would you want to reduce it?
Could we reduce it by 1,000? Would 2,000 work?
2,000? Sounds good to me. I have no
1,000
problem.
less? Yeah, that's good.
I have no problem with that. I'm putting that right down in my notes right here first. Anybody else?
That's good.
Anything else? Anybody else for this page? This department, Administration and Finance. Good. The next one we flip the page is Planning and
Well,
Zoning.
let me,
Oh, sorry.
Mayor,
Sorry.
this one's at the manager. Madam Manager, you have a, do you have a membership with ICMA yet?
Yes, I do.
Okay, the full of it, not the subcommittee, but a membership with ICMA, because I want that in there for her.
Yeah, I have a membership. With the membership, though, comes training. Thank you for bringing that up. Actually, I did speak with the mayor about this. There's a training in the next fiscal year.
Yes.
That is about leadership and, city administration. It is a $2,400 training.
That's
I
right.
don't have any educational fund. I have a membership and publications line item, but I don't have educational.
As you all know, I came on the council indicating that our manager has done a yo person's job in learning the job, and that without the assistance of the ICMA and Mayor, I know you know about the International City Managers Association, and literally she should be a part of that.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, you are 100% correct. And to your point, I want to make sure that when it comes to certifications and education, that we
Right.
not only take care of our code enforcement officer under your committee, Councilperson
village
Lightfoot
clerk?
Ward.
The
But
village
we also
clerk as
take care of the
well?
village clerk, and we also take care of the village manager. That's very important for us to be up to date and for them to get as much education and certifications as possible.
Let me look at Chief Chief, are you still part of the association for administration with the police service? Chief? Magnet.
He's unmuting.
You mean?
Yeah, I have a couple, I belong to a couple organizations, PERF, Miami-Dade County Association of Chiefs of Police. I have the IACP,
What's the IACP?
International Association of Chiefs of Police, and the
Okay.
Florida Chiefs of Police.
Chiefs of Police. Okay, those are the three that I'm kind of listening for, because those are the three that basically, if he's not a part of it, he's out of the water. And you know, when we have emergencies, especially since the county works so well with us, when we have emergency, he needs to know that they know him.
They know me.
Yeah, they know you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So should we, so we're reducing by 2,000, the miscellaneous staff events. Should we, since, because Madam Manager, you don't have currently any education under your department, correct? Correct? So should we, since it's next fiscal year that you're doing that, should we reallocate that for education for you?
Let's do memberships. Let's do
Memberships.
memberships and education. 'Cause
Memberships and
that's-
education?
We're under the water if we don't keep their certifications up. Village manager, I mean, the village clerk, that's where we were falling down on years ago. But I see that we have a certified village clerk, and the manager should be likewise, and the police should not, the chief should not lose anything that he already has earned.
Councilperson Martin, you know, since you brought this up, in your vision, where were you looking to put that other 2,000? Were you looking to put it back in reserves? And what do you think about what the village manager is saying with her education?
Either reserves or to help offset that increase in cost for the grant writer.
I got you.
But I do have a question for the manager. The amount currently allotted for memberships and publications, are you using all of that? Could some of that be put towards this educational training you want to attend next year?
Muted, Ms. You're muted,
Still
Christina.
muted. You're muted.
I'm so sorry. Forgive me. I am a part of some other organizations, so the membership part is pretty covered. But the publications, I have some publications. I can certainly forego a little bit of that. But I don't think that's going to be covered. I still may need a bit more. I want to see how I can work it about the memberships and training. I think we should change the line item to memberships and training. And let me work within that to see what I can do. But I want you all to be aware that I do want to do that training. It is $2,400. I may be able to get a discount, but it's going to be at least $2,000. So coming up in January.
And I think a good question is maybe Councilperson Martin is for the village manager, because you know this training that is for 2,400 starting next fiscal year. Like I don't know if it's an every year thing. Like I don't know, it's not an every year thing.
No.
So it might, it's not correct.
No, it's not.
So I don't know. So maybe we want to throw it. I don't know. Maybe we want to make it a line item, but it's not going to be an every year thing. So she will probably won't have to do it next fiscal year. You know, like I mean, she'll have to do this upcoming fiscal year, but not the next one after that. So if we want to throw it in reserves and then we could take it out of it, like I don't know how you. What do you think is best, Councilperson Martin?
So for me, I would definitely change the name of that line item to memberships and trainings.
That's right.
Because I do think it's very important that you belong to ICMA and are also super active and able to, you know, be on the cutting edge of some of the things that we're talking about. But I think this particular training, since it's a one-time expenditure, I think it should be its own line item. And after the manager has an opportunity to figure out what publication she can move around or discounts are available, then we can come back with a realistic number, a real world number for what that training is going to cost us. But I think it's important for sure. And you've done an awesome job. It's a big task to learn all the things it takes to run a city. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Martin. Is there anything else you guys on this department? Before we move on? So moving on, the next one is pretty small. It's planning and zoning. Urban planner consultant, that's Placerbia. That you guys know comes to our meetings and things like that. Is there anything on here? Any questions?
Do we need to go out for a new bid anytime soon? How long have we had for Serbia?
Yeah, we've had them for a while. We can look into that. I'll put that down here in my notes. Yeah, we'll do
It's
that.
getting to be like we hire a full-time planner, but we don't. We hire a company. And as we did with the city attorney, likewise should be done with the planner.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll put that down there. We'll get that moving. I'll put that in. We'll get that in motion. Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Appreciate that. Anything else on this page? And I put out for a bid on the notes. All right. Good. All right. Moving along. Next one is village clerk. Village clerk, I'm going to kind of turn this over to you before we go to the council. Anything that, and I know that you were looking at it, and you know the inconsistencies and the things that weren't really correct in your budget. If you want to point those out and give your recommendations about with the next fiscal year, what it should look like.
I do want to make a note that for the fiscal year of the 20, I wasn't here actually all of it, because it started in October and it ended in for the year 20. And I do see a lot of things that stand out. I think they might be mistakes. For example, the traveling and the education, I'm not sure that the previous clerk that was here interim traveled at all, because there was none that year. And those numbers really standed out to me. So if Wallace can tell me if that came from somewhere, or maybe it was just a mistake and oversight.
I'm sorry, Eunice, could you repeat that part? Because it kind of broke up.
For the fiscal year of 20, I wasn't here for the fiscal year 20. I don't believe that the previous clerk went to any education that year, because they were mostly canceled. They just started back on this year. So I see $4,000 that were out, like they were spent. That could have been an oversight. And I also see for traveling, 3,300.
All right, so for fiscal year 20, I'll have to go back and look at it. I didn't
Sure, if you can make an annotation and you can look at those two, those really stood out to me. I don't think
So which, you said education and training, and what was the other one?
the travel and per diem.
Okay, I'll get you back to you first part of next week.
I also want to thank you. I also want to make note, I've been here 6 years. I've never been over the budget. I've always tried to remain under, because I understand the importance of putting things in reserve and having that reserve. And also because I do keep in mind that we're working with funds that, come from the public and from all that. So I do see that for the income, if you add up the income, that just working strictly those 30 hours times 33, it comes out to almost 52, and 50 was allocated. So that would make me over the budget as it is. So that would need to be changed. As you know, sometimes we're in late night meetings till very late.
So 52, Madam Clerk?
I would say 53.
Or
because
53, correct.
Strictly. And that was my recommendation with the notes I sent last night.
Yeah.
Also, the travel per diem, then as Dr. Ward had said, I am going back to keep the certification, also to become a master clerk as it is. We have at least 6 educational sessions a year. I only go to 3 because I understand that that this is the amount of money we have, and I'm good with it. Might take me a little longer, but I'll get there. And also, when I started here, I was never a clerk previous, so most of the stuff I have to learn on my own. Call around to research. One thing about me, I always look for research. I call my colleagues. I use the different the different programs, and I call around and I find out. I did also notice that they're having grants now for education. So the one that was for my education has always been at 3,000. I saw that it was lowered to 500. If I get the grant, that's a way that I can put money back. I was also looking at where we can put money back in reserve for my budget. Advertisement was one of them that I think that we can also put money back, because I was getting, I think there was a mix. I think this is in a meeting that the manager was at and also the mayor was at. There was a mix that when a variance would come in, advertisement, automatically any advertisement is taken out of my budget. Whether it's an RFQ for the village, whether it's an RFP, whether it's something that it comes out of my budget for the advertisement. So everything comes out of there. The biggest thing that I think never has been addressed, and I've said it several times, is the trim. Trim is mandatory. We can't get around that. It used to cost 7,000. I just spoke to the lady and I said, where can we cut? Like, where does it look that we are in compliance, but what is the price that, so right now it's to 5,000. That's 5,000 straight out of advertisement. So if you see the number being high, it's because that trim comes out of there. So that was one of the things that I was looking at. Also for machinery and equipment, there's zero. And there was one, that's another thing I need you to look at, Chris, because I see 1,669. I've been in need of a computer, and I think most of the people that have been around here know that, but I'm not, if it works, I will use it to the moment it works. It's been turning off, I can't get in. It works. Until now it worked. But given that I know it's already acting up, that would be something that I've always had for an equipment just in case as a backup. That's the other part I thought.
What's your number?
Huh?
What's your number?
No, it was 1,000. It was, I saw that they had budget, it was 1,000 for that one. But if I don't need it, I don't need it. I mean, it goes back to the reserve anyway.
Okay.
so-
So
But
you
keep in
cut,
mind,
you
one of the-
cut 3 places already, and that's good. You've already cut it, but put it in writing, because your division is separate and distinct, and you know where the money should and should not be.
So like for elections, for example, that's a big one. We have elections coming up next year. Being it that, like this last one, there was no need for an election, those $10,000 stay back in the reserve. We didn't need it. It was not, there was no need. But then we have also where we always have to keep it. I'm just giving you an explanation for the people who are new so they know a little bit more and understand more of the department, because I rarely get to talk to you guys or be, we're always on the go. So the elections, let's say this happened, and actually this is the first time it happened in El Portal. One of the members decided that they no longer were able to participate, and we had to hold an election, and we didn't have the funds for the election. That is something that impacts, because holding an election within itself is $8,000. And that's something, $8,000 or more, and that's something that hugely impacts the budget. So that you can't foresee. So we always keep that 10 grand now for that. If there's an election, if there's not, if not, it goes back. But anywhere, I mean, there's not really a lot, like awards and plaques. That's when something's presented to, let's say, for the any of us or any guest or anybody who's done something for us, or any extraordinary or any other, elected official, that's where that comes from. And advertisement, ordinances, we have all those, all that has to be advertised. Sometimes they have to be advertised more than once, depending on what it is. Advertisement takes a chunk, even though I've moved from, the Miami Herald is very expensive, so I do the DBR to save some money, which we are allowed to do. If you guys have any questions, the website was also moved into my department, I think this last year, which wasn't there before. I see that, because the website does fall under me. Which I think she does a lot more, by the way. She does a lot. She does all our flyers, all our ads, a lot of things that, so it's pretty good until, I don't know what else you think. But wherever I can see that I can cut, or wherever I can see that it's not gonna be a need as we go along, I don't have a problem allocating it to the reserve. I understand the importance of the reserve.
Mr.
Let
Mayor,
me- yes, Councilor Lightfoot.
don't we have a mid-budget, correction, do we have a mid-budget review? I think
Yeah,
do.
we will next year. Yes, we should always have a mid-budget review.
Always
This
have-
year, we always should have a mid-budget review. It's not in the charter, but we always should have one.
Yeah.
This year, things weren't really prepared in time.
Okay, that's
to say
fine.
the least.
But you know where I'm going. You know
I got
exactly
you.
where I'm going.
I'm on board with you 100%.
Okay, very good.
Absolutely. Let me say this really quickly, you guys, before I go to, I'm gonna go to Councilperson Martin also, I see you. And before I go back to the clerk, if you look at, just want to point this out, just in case, you look at the video recordings and transcripts, you see it's over budgeted. The reason why it's like that, you guys, this year is because part of that is when we started to do the, a large part of that is when we started to do the meetings hybrid. So remember, all right, so remember meetings were just in person pre-COVID, right? When they come to, so like how we do our committee meetings, that's the cheapest way of doing it because it's just in person, they come out and it's just like that. When we do the Zoom meetings, then COVID hit and we started to do the Zoom meetings. So we had a lot of meetings just through Zoom. It's a tiny bit more expensive than the committee meetings, but then in order to be like more open with everybody, when I came in on that first night, when I first got sworn in, we passed the hybrid, which is why at our meetings, we have to where the people at home can see it at the same time while they're there and all that type of stuff. Those are really expensive because it's two people that are coming out, right? So we're paying for both of their people instead of just one. Because you guys, if you notice, when we have the committee meetings, it's just one person that comes out with the camera stuff. We have the hybrid meetings, two people that come out, and it's live streamed on YouTube, and it's live streamed on Facebook at the same time. Those are very expensive. Not only that, the bulk of that, what you guys see there, you guys, is that you guys know we've had our situations with the audits. You guys remember those letters and stuff I've been getting. I think I got a new one also, Clerk Jacoby. But I got a new one recently I have to go pick up. But all that stuff with the audits and the finances and all that type of stuff, that those problems we were going through. Part of that is for the audit, we had to go back and we have to have we have to have those minutes, like those transcripts for all past meetings, and that wasn't kept up with in previous administrations. So I'm trying to fix everything. So this right here is not going to be an every year type of thing. This right here is an outlier because I'm catching up on all this stuff that was like out of compliance. And so that's what you're seeing right there.
So Mayor, you had somebody else before me. It was
Councilperson Martin.
It was me.
Let Martin go on first.
You spoke about what my question was, which is that line item for video recordings and transcripts. Just wondering if we do need to do the hybrid format, if it is going to send us this far over budget, number one. And number two, since I think we all want this to be over, but I don't know if we have a end in sight as far as COVID is concerned. Is that $10,000 amount reasonable if we do have to do the hybrids?
Yeah, before I go to Attorney Geller, let me just say this really quickly, Attorney Geller. You know, we don't have to, Councilperson Martin. I mean, look, that's something that, you know, I'm trying to be, you know, the residents, you know, they want certain things. I'm trying to be as accommodating as possible. Because, you know, I didn't want it to where if we just held the in-person full council meetings, the way we do the committee meetings. And then if we had it to where residents were like, well, you know, this is a way of you guys trying to shun us because, you know, we don't want to go there and put ourselves at risk as far as COVID, but you guys aren't offering it to us at the same time with the hybrid. So you guys are kind of having closed sessions in a sense because you guys are, you know, I didn't want that to happen.
I understand it's tough, but then also it's tough to justify the expenditure when usually we have like two people, one person, and sometimes no people signed on. So I don't know what the correct course of action is.
I hear you.
Just thinking about what the options are so that we aren't, because this is 20% over budget, I believe, this department. So I think Attorney Geller has something.
Yes.
Yes, you know, let's look at option C instead of A or B. The manager is going to talk to you a little later about some other opportunities. So, Madam Manager, when we look at the COVID costs that have been imposed on us, this is a very good line item for us to document increased costs from COVID that we can look to recover from what you're going to be talking about. I don't think this was in our discussion that we had the other day, but
no, these items they're part of the CARES Act. So we've already applied for the reimbursement for these costs.
There we
But
go.
you're right, these are imposed on us because of coronavirus, and we have, we're getting that reimbursed.
So
I don't know where we're at in terms of getting that. We've been asking for it. It's the $38,000 that we're expecting.
the line item won't decrease, but if income increases from a grant source, then in effect, we're kind of zeroing out the extra cost, even though it'll continue to be shown as a line item because we have offset funding.
Well, I appreciate that additional information. With that information, I think we should leave it the same. I mean, I'm a big fan of access. I want everybody to be able to view the meetings if they want to. And if it's not to be an additional cost to the city, or if that additional cost is going to be subsidized, then I would have no problem with it continuing to be hybrid.
As they say, OPM. Other
What is
People's
other
money.
people's money.
Other
I
people's
know
money.
another version of that.
Yeah, I know. I got you. I got you, Councilperson Martin. I got you on that one. I'm gonna go to Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Let me just say really quickly that yes, some of those Biden bucks, as Attorney Geller so so happily speaks of, does it is for technology affecting things that might have been affected by COVID. So part of that is how it goes. So Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
I yield.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
On that note,
This is going really good, you guys. Let's speed up, get out of here, but this is going really good. I like how this workshop is going. Let me just say this, just to like sum it up. Clerk Jacoby, just so we know, so I can have it in my notes, so we have everything ready for you and it's perfect. For your travel and per diem, what should your proposed budget be for next year? Travel and per diem.
it's 1,000.
1,000.
Yes. I'm going based on what I had before
No
pre-COVID,
problem.
right? And for the education and training, it's 3,000. Now, like I
3,000.
said, I know
Okay.
that there's some grants that they have afforded because of what's going on, because of COVID and all that kind of stuff. So I would apply for them. If I apply for them and I get it, then that's the money that I can, that we can put back in the reserve.
Okay.
And
And,
some
and for
conference-
advertisement?
Huh?
Advertisement?
Oh, advertisement would have to stay because of no, that's fine because of the 5,000 or 6,000. That's the trim, so that cuts it in half.
And machinery and equipment, do you want for a new computer because your computer's on the fritz? Do you want that
I
budgeted?
just added that 1,000 just in case. I think I can still.
Yo. What's going on, Miss Nortellis? You're I thought he was talking to us. I was like, you're in two different places. But anyway, go ahead, Clerk Jacoby. Sorry.
Okay, and that's what. And I went back to the salary, which is one of them. That was wrong from the get-go.
And that's 53,000, right?
I want you to keep in mind though that the video recording and the whole transcripts has been the same since I've been here at 10,000, but I've added a lot of stuff because of I hear a lot of residents that I talk to about the whole transparency and then having it like the YouTube. Since I got here, that wasn't here before.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
the whole
all that
video
was
we
added.
saw
Yeah.
the meeting, that wasn't here before.
Yeah, Facebook
it's
Live
that
wasn't there. All that stuff was newer. All that stuff was
All that
newer
stuff-
after. Yeah.
I added a lot of stuff that wasn't here, but we kept it at the same. And I think that's to your point, Councilperson Martin, that you were saying, is that
Sufficient enough. It's 10,000 sufficient because that's when you first came on. But we moved so forward in technology,
I've
with
added a
YouTube
lot
and
of stuff,
Facebook and stuff
like
like
the
that.
Facebook Live, and I
Yeah.
added a lot of stuff that I thought in order to have more transparency and in order to accommodate a lot of people that you can go back and see it. YouTube wasn't there before.
Yeah. This is what I would say. This is my Councilperson
I have
Martin, if I may.
yes, I have a question. Why is the education, and I might have missed this, why is the education training going up to 3,000?
That's
Or-
what it's always been. It's always been 3,000 since I started, and that's what I've used in order to get certified. Now there comes master clerk. There's like I said, there's like 6 different educations. Some of them come from 700 to 1,000 to 1,200. So I go to 3 sessions in a year.
Okay, so
But
those
mine
3
was-
sessions, so you do have 3 sessions coming up next year that will cost you $3,000.
Oh yeah, or even a little more. But that what I was saying was I'm gonna try to apply for a grant because I know one of them has a grant. So if I get it awarded, then we don't need it. But I've always had it. The reason that it came down to 500 or 1,000 is because somebody else inputted that information. It wasn't me.
May I make a suggestion before we move on? For the video recordings and transcripts, since this is an outlier this year, so we don't really know the difference from what we implemented, with Clerk Jacoby, what you implemented when you came into YouTube and Facebook Live and stuff like that. Since we don't know, I suggest we keep it at 10,000. When we get to next year's mid-year budget, to Councilperson Lightfoot Ward's point, then we can see the real numbers, because we won't have the outlier of the transcripts from this year, and we can adjust at the mid-year budget. That's my
I
suggestion.
actually asked them to give me to give me an estimate, because I think it's only fair to work with what it's hard to estimate what's going on. We do have a lot of meetings. Sometimes, like this month, we have a lot of meetings going on. So it's very difficult, but I did say, give me something around the numbers. And that's what I try to do every year with the person that we work with.
Well, here's the deal, Mayor, and I want to move on, because I think we all got the point. Where it's going to cost us, because I can see a barrage of people coming in and saying, listen, you all, if we got to do what we got to do, let's do it. But this cost amount is being ridiculous. And Facebook, and we're supporting, and all of that. That's why I like the idea of a mid-year. Let's do what we think we got to do right now, make the adjustments in mid-year. But if residents want to come on, fine. If they want to come to the Village Hall, fine. But I think we need to migrate back to Village Hall with all our costs.
No, I hear you. I don't disagree. Let's keep it, like I said, let's keep it like this for now. I would suggest in the mid-year budget review, we'll adjust it accordingly. All right. For your computer, Clerk Jacoby, you wanna just kind of play it by ear, keep it in reserve for now, and pull it out later if we have to. Okay. All right, you guys. Let's go on to the next thing. This is public affairs. Vice Mayor Erbaum's not here. He couldn't be here. He's on a flight right now. I know Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, I know that you were looking at public affairs. Is there, suggestions that you wanted to make for pulling things out, possibly, and putting them in reserve? Look at that different.
There are quite a few. Now, you all don't have to agree with me, but I kind of checked off what I thought was applicable. And Mayor, let me start with, y'all follow me good, because I don't want to be on this for a long time.
I got you.
Let me see how I can differentiate. They all seem to have the same number, so I'm going to call it what it is, the 5 run.
5K, yes.
Let's just eliminate that. We're talking about Easter event. Now, let me just go through my list. Y'all can agree or disagree. The Easter event, let's eliminate that. The Little River clear, what cleaning, let's keep it, because we do have people come out to that, and all we're doing is cleaning the river. We're doing a community thing. The Miami Shores Gala, we had a lot of flack on that. Let's just take it out. 4th of July event, we got enough people doing things on their personal days. If we want to do something at Village Hall, that's different. But July event is usually an outdoor event anyway. And if you're talking about fireworks, let's not do it in the village. Let's go watch other people. Take that one out.
Okay.
We're talking about Halloween. Most people know it's a dangerous thing these days to do Halloween of any kind, simply because people are mean. So I want to take it out. The one that talks about other promotional activities, I'd say hold on to that a minute, because we don't know what we don't know. And since we don't know what things we might need to be promoting, we need a budget for that. So let's just.
Well, that budget is 0 right now, though, Councilman.
It's 0 right now, but it says 283. But since it was 0, it has no line item. I'm saying leave something in it. I don't know what's going to happen.
No problem.
But nothing over $200 would seem feasible.
I'll put 200 right there for you. I got you.
Okay. And then promotional activities, role models.
That's a 5,000 role models breakfast.
5,000 role model. We like to support the Congresswoman. I know this is her event, et cetera, but how many people attend besides you and me?
Yeah, and the problem is that with COVID, I don't even think she's having it in person anymore right now.
That's right. That's exactly right. But the children are still being, if she comes out and say, make a donation, let's make a donation, keep it at 500, and let's be done with that.
I got you. So do you want to keep it at 500 for now? Keep it at 500 for now?
Yes. The state of the village event, let's don't make that an event where people have to come to it. Let's do the state of the event while you making that announcement. It's called the mayor's State of the Union. It's like the state of the village. And you just make your speech at one of the council meetings and take that one out. There doesn't have to be a thing where we're feeding people. And the Christmas thing, just take it out completely. And I think you'll find a very good savings there if everybody can agree.
Yeah, I mean,
And how about the Juneteenth? That's something that was just
that's what
added.
we're gonna keep. I
I
wanna,
don't know what.
Since Juneteenth has just been a brand new kind of a thing going on, play it by ear, because we really don't know what we're gonna do for Juneteenth. Let's let the village decide what they want to do with Juneteenth. We put it out there, they give us ideas about what they want to do with Juneteenth. It's a fairly new holiday. It's a fairly new holiday. Let's see how it goes.
Councilwoman, did you, you passed over, I don't know if you have a position or not, on Arbor Day. It's one of the larger expenses.
yeah, but we need
Arbor
Arbor
Day.
Day.
We have to have
We
that.
have to have Arbor Day. Attorney Kelly.
That one I purposely passed over.
I'm just asking if the councilwoman had a recommendation.
No, I purposely passed it over. I do not want to do anything with Arbor Day. Just leave it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, oh, go ahead, Councilperson
Oh
Martin.
yeah,
Go ahead.
so I definitely, Councilman Lightfoot Ward, I follow you. I don't think that we need to spend all of this money on events, and a lot of them can go. And maybe if we want to just have one line item for us, like a celebration, and we fund it with 500 or 1,000, and maybe every year we decide what celebration we're going to
Want to
entertain.
allocate it.
I
Uh-huh.
think that
Yeah,
would be
that's good.
good, but I wouldn't be mad at
That's a great
eliminating
idea.
most of these events except for Arbor Day. And the village, I think we need something, but agreed, change in format, that would probably require no money expended.
I think you should also note, if you cut
Mr.
some of
Geller,
those.
you're not on mute.
Yeah, you know, we can hear him. We can
Oh,
hear
I'm
him.
trying to speak.
No, he doesn't want us to hear him.
He wants us.
Oh, you want us to hear you?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to, yeah, I'm trying to address the group.
Oh,
I just wanted to point out that if you do take some of those down, you had proposed, 9250 or something, 9280. But if you, your year to date is much less. If you go back to what was spent previously in 2020, where it was almost $13,500, you're making, I mean, not small reductions. You're making serious reductions from the 13 that was spent in the previous fiscal year. You're cutting that, just with what the stuff Councilperson Lightfoot Ward said, you're cutting that more than half. I mean,
$4,000 of cuts.
Yeah.
so, but 4 off the 5, that would mean projected like 5. And in the previous fiscal year, it was 13.5. That's a big cut.
That's
Uh,
the
let
intent.
me be clear.
That
I'm
is
not
the
saying
intent.
that critically. I'm saying that that's a good thing. That's a serious reduction.
It's the only part of the budget that I've had most of my complaints, is that these things were chumped up as the years went by, and yet they're not fully attended at all, basically.
Yeah.
And that's really, and the July 4th thing really put the what do you say?
The nail in the
Spotlight.
coffin.
Sealed it.
Put
It
a
really
spotlight
sealed
on everything, yeah.
it. Yeah, it really did seal it.
So how about this? Are we in agreement that we want to scrap all of the special events except for Arbor Day, and then just have one line item that is probably entitled celebrations, whatever, and then the council can decide, and that item might be funded with $1,000, let's say, and then we can decide if we want to throw up a banner at City Hall or recognize certain events as we go. Do we?
That's great.
Think that's what we want to do?
Yeah, that's great. Great idea.
Let me just jump in, but let me just jump in, you guys. Let me just jump in. I think we need to keep them separate for purposes of like auditing and purposes of knowing exactly what goes where, because it's going to be much harder. Like if there's one like lump thing and we say, okay, you know what, for Christmas, we do want to do this for Christmas, or we do want to pull this out for, it's going to be harder to keep the accounting. So, I think we should keep the items, we should keep them at 0.
Okay.
Right. And then, if in a meeting we say, hey, you guys, for Christmas, we do, because we might want to put up a Christmas tree for Christmas in front of Village Hall. And we say, hey, for Christmas, let's throw $100, whatever a Christmas tree costs, back in there for Christmas or something like that. But if we put it in one lump sum, it's going to be harder for the accounting.
I can feel that. But I definitely, kudos to you, Councilwoman Lightfoot Ward. I do agree with that, scrapping most of these things.
All right. $4,000 savings going back into reserves. I got it in my notes. Anything else, you guys, for political affairs before we go to Chief Magnuson and his police? Good. All right. Changing the paper. All right, here we go. Chief. I'm going to turn it
Morning.
over to you before I go to the council. If there's anything that sticks out, anything you want to say, and your proposed budget, anything you want to see go up or go down. Chief is all.
Yeah, there's a couple things I just want to bring up. The one thing, I'll start with the minor thing first. Under bullets and vests, I want everybody to understand that we apply for grants for the body armor. That's usually a portion of it. That being said, with the body armor, there's an end date, an expiration date on body armor. I believe it's 5 years, and it's still good afterwards, but realistically, they have to be switched out at that time. So thankfully, it's not all at once. It's a concurrent thing. There will be some years where you're going to have more than 1 or 2 vests that need to be switched out. But when you slash it with the bullets, this is where I'm going with that. We can't get grants for bullets. We qualified this year statewide. It's every 2 years. But on the alternate year, we need to do discretionary shooting. It's not mandated per se, but I think for the betterment of this department and any department for that matter, police department, discretionary shooting, being out there, you're going to expend more practice rounds. They're not the duty rounds. We'll save those. They're more expensive, but the practice rounds out on a range so we can do shoot, don't shoot drills. Last year, we were going to do discretionary. Everything got closed up because the Rangers at the height of COVID. And while we do use of force during our qualifications, as we did earlier this year for the department, we do go over use of force policy extensively, and the de-escalation and things along those lines. I think it's very important that we also do the discretionary shooting, get out there on a range, and have these officers put in situations where they're firing their weapon during a shoot, don't shoot drill. So with that, it's not a major expense. It's just it's an added, a little bit added more if we can find the bullets. It's difficult to get them now, and the prices have gone up on them. Nonetheless, I just want to bring that to your attention. We have some in reserve now that would get us through next year's qualification, but I don't think every 2 years we should be harping on this sort of policy for our officers each and every year. As well as internally with some of the going over the policies and procedures. I think it's important. So it's not a massive cost. I'm just bringing that to your attention. That 1,000 is not going to be enough.
So Chief, so you're saying for the bullets vest for $1,000, that should be kept at $1,000. First of all, that's
I
correct?
think it should probably go up a little bit. If we don't need it,
How
so
much?
be it.
How much?
I would say another 1,000.
Okay, hold on. Discretionary shooting, is that part of that 2,000? Or that's different?
When you say 2,000, I'm sorry, I'm losing.
Because you said it's 1,000, now you said it should go up another 1,000 to bullets.
1,000, right?
It should go up another 1,000 to 2,000, correct?
To 2,000.
Okay, for part of that 2,000, when you were just discussing discretionary shooting, is that part of that 2,000 or is that a
That would
separate
be
line item?
No, that would just be for the rounds, the added rounds. And if we don't need them, then we don't. When we do our inventory, then the following year we're good to go.
So it's part of
I'm
that
saying-
2,000?
Come on, let's do it simple.
I'll put up at 1,000 to 2,000 total. Yeah.
And the discretionary shooting, I know, is that part of that bullets vest line
Yes.
item or is that?
Yes.
Yes.
It would be part
You
of it
want that
because
at 3,400. You want that number at 3,400. I mean, come
I
on.
don't need
let's-
it. I don't need it at 3,400.
What
I
do
just
you
need
want it at?
It's sitting at 1,000 right now. I said double it to 2,000. And if we don't use it, so be it. At the mid-year review, then we can adjust. But it's better to have
I
it
don't
now so
see
we can
it.
get them trained. That's all.
I see it right now at 2,400. What are we talking about?
No,
I see
no,
it right now.
It's 1,000 proposed budget, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. The 2,400 is projected.
That was projected to the end. That's why.
It's
Okay.
1,000 proposed, he wants 2,000 proposed.
And
He wants 2,000. The only thing that I was questioning, because he was talking about the bullets and vests, but then he was also talking about discretionary shooting. So I'm not a law officer, so I was confused if discretionary shooting is part of the bullets and vests or if that's a separate line item he was trying to add.
It would be the same. We'll keep it simple.
right above gasoline, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, right near the bottom.
Go ahead, Chief.
That's one thing. That's the minor thing. The other thing I want to bring to the attention here, the overtime at 11,000, that's not gonna. I don't believe that's gonna work, and I'm gonna explain why. You could see where we are, how we went over it this year, but I have to explain why that's happening. We have skeleton crews, so anytime anybody goes on vacation, calls out sick, we have to bring somebody in on overtime. I
have 22,000 for overtime. I have 22,000, not 11,000. I have 22 for next year projected. Proposed.
Tentative budget, okay, I'm seeing, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying here, because of the actual, then that'll work, then we'll be good with that, but I do want to bring up why we had the increase as well. Keep in mind with the COVID, keep in mind when somebody's out in quarantine, we have to fill it in. I also sending people now that classes are back in, on track. Anytime we send somebody to a class, even if it's a free class, they're going to be out of the rotation. We have to fill somebody in. So I did want to explain why you see the jump, and I want to thank you again for upping it to that amount. That works out perfectly, but I think I needed to give an explanation as to why we need it moving forward. And so I do appreciate that. Otherwise, we on a separate rail, we talked about, I know with the manager on the computers,
Yes.
on the stronger, and that's something else that's being worked on. So again, that's working out fine. So we're good with that.
Mayor, I got one.
I want to bring something up.
Go ahead. You go, Attorney Geller first, and then Madam Manager, I'm coming to you.
Yeah, there's an item here, there's a line, and it's only under police, professional fees, legal, other.
I don't know what that is.
In the previous fiscal, no, I know, Chief, I'm asking the CFO.
Right.
In the previous fiscal year, it was $45,000. It was budgeted for 20 for this year. They've spent 11. For some reason, it says it's going to be estimated for the end of the year $51,000, and they're budgeting 20 for next year. When Councilperson Perrella was talking about cutting the amount for village attorney, we are trying to make savings. I don't think I've engaged outside counsel since I started November 1st on anything.
No, you did.
The current 11, and there's supposed to be another $40,000 spent on that before the end of this fiscal year. What's been spent even this year? What is that 11? And why is this all, lumped into PD? I've pretty much made it my business to handle everything. So, as far as reducing, Councilman Perrella says that the stipend should be cut. I've tried to reduce the village's legal expenses, just not out of the regular stipend, by handling everything, including, the PBA negotiations and everything else. So I'm asking Mr. Wallace, what are those other costs? Where are they going? I mean, and what is it that, I don't see why we need to plan to spend $20,000 on that next year, because I handle this stuff all myself.
Mr. Mayor, before you answer, I'm right there with Joe. Got to do another call, but work that out, because I really never understood why that's there. Thank you. I'll be right back.
And I was actually going to raise that as well. I wanted to draw the attention that is clearly a mistake. We did have that legal fee in previous years due to a lawsuit, but we don't have that now. So that shouldn't be. But we've asked Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace, do you have any response?
But let me say before Mr. Wallace comes in, Christia, or Madam Manager, but we do have, and I don't know if that's part of that, Mr. Wallace is going to answer right now, but we do have sometimes, like, we might have to go to like the Florida League of Cities to use their attorney for a case that, like, one of our officers are involved in. We have had to do that.
But that's part of our insurance. We shouldn't be paying for that. That's why
we're not paying for that.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Wallace, the floor is yours.
Anticipating 40 more thousand in this fiscal year. Where's the 11 that we've spent? And why do we think we need 20? I mean, if you're talking about reductions, that's one of my focuses, is to reduce. I said when I came that we were not going to be going to outside counsel at the drop of a hat, and I haven't retained outside counsel once.
There you go, Councilperson Perrella. That's inclusive. He's inclusive, Councilperson Perrella.
Yes. And that was my only question. In this budget, that was the question about the outside legal services.
Well, Councilperson Perrella, I was saying that, Councilperson Perrella, to try to get you on our side to keep him at 96,000, because if we deduct this 20,000, you see what I'm saying? It all works out. But anyway, let's go to CFO, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wallace,
let's see. We have to negotiate. We have to negotiate.
Okay, So the short answer is for the current year to date, I'll have to get back with you to provide you the detail. My guess and recollection, pardon me about my voice going out again. My recollection on this is actually a carry forward that was billed in fiscal year 20 that was related to some labor disputes, legal counsel from the prior year or that occurred at about the end of the fiscal year or into October. So the 51,000 is just a bad forecast to year end, and I would just ignore that. And if you're not, if you think, look, we put the 20,000 there, or I did, because I have no idea what your legal fees for labor and police are going to be for union contracts or whatever. If the city attorney is saying it's going to be zero, then by all means, knock it down to zero. I think the professional legal fees for this had actually been, if I remember correctly, and the manager may correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we used to account for this with other legal fees, but because they had been significant in prior years for a lot of labor disputes, it felt better to go ahead and put this as a separate line item in the police department where it really probably should be. So if you don't like the $20,000, by all means, do something with it if you don't think you're going to incur it. If that's going to be part of the city attorney's labor expenses, as part of the base contract, then that's fine. I mean, we had to start with the budget somewhere. So if you look at it, it's the same budget that you have for the current fiscal year.
We could always get sued. It might not be related to police. I mean, anybody can sue us anytime. We do have to defend, but one of the reasons that, it's the contract structure. Litigation, if it happens, might be extra, but I work very hard to avoid litigation and not get us dragged into it. And of course, under the agreement with the village, if there's litigation, we provide it at a very reduced hourly rate too. But so far, we've been successful in making sure nobody sues us.
Well, the only thing I could say is, and that's, I think most of these expenses in prior years are the result of lawsuits by principally the former police chief. They were pretty significant. So, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to leave it at zero or put it at half or leave it as it is up to you. I'd rather see you leave some money there for some minor, things that come up. But, if you're happy, you can always take it out of the contingency amount that we budget.
Or the other thing, by the way, if you're going to do any amount in case someone sues us, if you were going to do some reduced amount like $5,000, I wouldn't necessarily leave it in the police budget anyway. It should just be in case of any lawsuit. It should be just in a general sense, and it could apply if anybody sues us. But again, one of the reasons that sometimes we bring you something to try to resolve an issue is to avoid having to go to court. Even if the reduced rates, dramatically reduced rates that we offer to the village if there's litigation, it's still expensive. We try very hard. I mean, this is not a village that should be insisting on little tiny things as a matter of principle. We've got to look at the bottom line very carefully. We have a very limited budget, and we need to make sure that we're not wasting it, on somebody's ego or trying to, make some theoretical point. That's why I want to be cautious, for instance, with things like the registration fees on the short-term rentals. We're considered like an easy target because we don't have a big in-house legal department. So somebody thinks they could set a precedent and get a favorable court ruling by coming after us. And we want to be very careful that we don't expose ourselves to being somebody's test case in litigation because they think they're going to spend a bunch of money and attack a village that has limited resources. So we try to be very cautious. The idea is to keep us out of litigation. So if there's any contingency, I wouldn't keep it in the PD. And 20 is like much higher than I would have it be. If you're going to have a contingency at all, make it 5.
Let me say this. I think that for right now, we should pull it all out, put it in reserves right now as we speak. If later on we want to add something underneath the attorney's salary for, like, other professional, we can do that later. We can discuss that in the first budget hearing if we want to. Right now, pull it out, put it in reserves. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, so far, our count is $27,000 to the reserves.
There you go, and that's more than the 2,500
You
I
see what I'm
was
saying?
talking about.
You see
That's
what I'm
way.
saying?
We're just on
I'm
page
keeping
7.
count for you. I'm keeping count for
We're
you.
just on page 7.
I'm
Thank
adding
y'all.
everything. I got notes and everything. I got you
I
covered,
do too.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. I got you covered, sister. All right, you guys.
So what about the $11,000 that he says has been spent till now? Where's that money?
I think the manager said that this was all.
Oh, you said it was from the previous.
Carryover, Mr. Wallace, I guess will check it for us.
Yeah,
but
the manager said it was a mistake. She said it was a mistake. The numbers weren't correct.
Well, the 51 that's projected for this year is dead wrong.
Yeah.
Mr. Wallace. So that's.
We
that's
can get
helpful.
that. We'll get that response.
That other, if it's
That
gone.
correction.
Let me say, if it is, it's carryover. We have approved 0.
Oh, absolutely. No. In fact, I can harken back to what I believe it is, but I asked that Mr. Wallace review those invoices. But that's from our special counsel, which was Gus Bravo. I think that's a carryover. We'll get the answer. We've been asking. Chief and I had already had this discussion with Mr. Wallace, and we, agree with you all wholeheartedly that portion should not be in this budget, and that we are in a better place and better times and handling our labor a lot differently. So let's
all right, so
move it on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. Chief or Madam Manager, because Madam Manager, you are above the police department. Chief or Madam, before I turn it over to the council, Chief or Madam Manager, any other places in the proposed budget, any of those numbers you want to see adjusted up or down?
Well, I do have to say this, Chief. Since we're reducing events and activities in public affairs, we've got 3 events and activities. Well, actually, okay, 2. The holiday party really is the holiday party for the village, so that item should be just removed. And then, unless you all want to have a separate police holiday party, but I just think that small enough.
Madam, the other one is the one that the chief pointed out himself. The very last item there, machinery and equipment. As I understand it, the reason it's projected considerably higher has to do with the laptops that they need. And if I'm understanding what our conversation has been, that really may not have to come out of this budget. And that's also if the officers can get what they need with those laptops. The chief
Right. Well, I was actually talking about the events. I'm talking about the crime event, and then the PBA dinner at 17.
I apologize.
Yeah, we should really take off the PBA dinner, put it in reserves for the 1750. I mean, the police department's not even part of the PBA anymore. So.
Right. So I think we should remove.
That's
that.
right.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, another 1750. I'm adding it in right now.
Very good.
All right. Anything else, Chief
Well, yes.
Magnuson?
Mayor, I'm sorry I interrupted the manager on the special events, but the point is on the equipment, if I'm correct that that's for the laptops, the manager's going to be presenting something else. You may be saving,
more.
I mean, previously been budgeted at 11, and if those laptops are a must, so moving to 28. But if the laptops don't have to be paid for, and the manager will get into that, that's about another $15,000 that you could cut from this budget and not touch the chief's operations. He has to get those things, but if there's, as the manager will get to, another source, Chief, am I correct? That's where most of that is the laptops, the tough ones?
No, I think this is coming from a different source, but it's also the printers. It's not just the laptops. It's the printers that the officers need to have in their cars at state mandated so they can print up tickets and accident reports for exchange, driver exchange. We don't have that now. I'm sorry.
But is that what the manager is going to talk to us about?
No, yeah, that's what I'm going to talk to you all about on a different court. But there are other machinery and equipment needed for the department besides laptops and printers, right there.
Yes.
Like we just did chairs. We are, we did built-ins for storage. I mean, so I would, we may not need 28,000. We may need to look through this just to separate out the whatever the technological needs are versus whatever it is. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Attorney Keller, because 28,000 may be a higher end if we can take out the computer portion and just keep the other equipment in, then make
I mean, you gotta get look, there's no question that the computers and the printers are a must. The question is just, I guess we'll get there soon. But the manager has news on that.
Yeah.
That may mean it doesn't have to come from
Correct.
this line item. That's the point. You gotta get them.
Okay.
Absolutely. But in the meantime, I think we should keep it at 28,000. So we look at, because you guys, the police have a lot of expenses.
Right. They do.
They do a lot of things. They have a lot of equipment, a lot of things that we don't know about that they need as far as equipment goes and things like that. So they're in compliance as far as being police officers and being police department. So we should keep it like where it is for now. Yeah, can't wait to get to the manager's announcement. Those Biden bucks, and all that stuff with technology. But yeah, is there anything else as far as the proposed budget? Any numbers going up or down, Chief or Village Manager? And then I'm going to open it up to the council and then.
Well, before you even do that, we're leasing cars now, right, Manager?
Yes, we are.
Okay, I don't see that on here. I see leases, but that definitely does not reflect the new arrangement that we have with those automobiles.
And I'm going to tell you why, because that's not the budget. Those funds coming from that.
Development fees.
Yeah, from developers fees. So
It's
that's
not from the budget.
That
Okay.
would be on this.
Very good. Thank you.
Remember,
That's
we're
why
going
I
to put
was-
development fees in a separate line item, and we said that at the council meeting. We got you. Very, very good point, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Anything else as far as changing the numbers for the proposed budget, you guys, up or down?
Well,
Go ahead, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Perrella. Sorry.
oh yeah. As speaking of that, the new vehicles, I don't know when we'll be getting them, but we still haven't repair maintenance of the vehicles. $15,000 there. It's something that's going to be needed once you get removed. Once you get the new fleet.
We're still going to have some old vehicles. Remember, we're only getting 6.
Right.
We may need some money. We may not use all of it, but we still have to repair and maintain those other vehicles that are still in the fleet.
It's not going to be the decrepit fleet that we have now. They're going to be
Right.
what's being used right now, but they are a little bit older. But yeah, this will probably decrease significantly. But right now, it's probably good to keep it there.
It'll go away permanently when we do phase 2. I don't know if you guys saw the manager's reports and things like that, but we did phase 1 where we got this first phase of the police vehicles, but there's still some police officers don't have those new vehicles. They'll still be in the old vehicles. And so we're gonna do a phase 2, which is a smaller number than the phase 1, but to get all the officers, all the full-time officers, of course, all the officers that have their own lease cars, we're going to do a phase 1 and phase 2. I spoke about that when we were doing the original one. We're going to do a phase 1 first, but then we have to do a phase 2 later. Once we do the phase 2, then that will go away altogether, because through the lease agreement, Enterprise will keep up the repairs, the maintenance on it, which is part of the money saved that we have with the lease agreement. But we didn't want to take a big hit as far as like everything at once, you guys, because remember when we had the discussion about the development agreement, it was good to go our way through it, but I didn't want to put everything like all at once, take so much money out at once, so I split up into 2 phases, you guys. All right.
That's good.
Mr.
Now,
Mayor?
and what about the tasers? Where are the tasers falling into here? It's on the equipment and machinery, or we're in the program, right? Making
Correct.
And that may be.
Where's that?
That may be the machinery there, because that's where the machinery, what you're paying each year
It's
now.
like $9,000 or something like
Correct.
that, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, you wanted to come in?
No, I'll save it. It's something I just overlooked. I was looking at the phones that we have, and I'm really going to turn mine in. And I just missed that, and I put it in front of me, and want to see how everybody feels about it. But let's move forward.
No problem. Anybody else for any adjustments up or down to the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022 for the police department? Good. All right, I have my notes. We're up to 28,750 for savings so far. All right, here we go. Next is code enforcement. Councilman Lightfoot Ward, she's over code enforcement. I don't know if there's anything that she wants to say, but Madam Manager, I'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate it. The only thing we're going to add here, I mean, there are some ups and downs. You see that based on the numbers here. We're going to add that code software that went through code enforcement committee and was approved. And so the recommendation is for $4,000 to allocate that software.
Thank you very much. Anything else under code enforcement, you guys?
Yes. I understand that we got an electronic something for the code enforcement person. Now they don't have to come back to the office. Where is that expense, and is it a one-time cost? And how do we eliminate what was done the old-fashioned way? Is that on here anywhere?
No, that's equipment that I just purchased, like a $100, I think it's a hotspot. And then we did get her a laptop that was purchased this fiscal year. So those aren't recurring costs.
Okay. So
I think Mrs. Lightfoot Ward is talking about the website or the.
That's the $4,000 that the manager was talking about.
Right.
That's the $4,000 at the bottom. That's
Yeah,
not
that would be encompassed in that. So she's not
software. There you go.
But the equipment part of it has already been purchased. All she needs is her laptop and to have that new software installed on the laptop.
Is that in the budget right now? Is that
Yeah, I
somewhere?
just added the four. It's right over here on
the last line item, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, where it says code software purchase at the very bottom.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay.
Anybody else for any numbers you want to see adjusted up or down for fiscal year 2022 for code enforcement? Oh, we're good.
Did we get a special master, Madam Manager?
Yeah, it will be paid as you go. So until we need her, or need him, we won't utilize him. But the code officer has actually gone to a special master's training with the clerk of the city of Miami, and we have a list of 3 special magistrates who can use that time.
Very
and that
good.
time may come sooner than you think.
Okay, very good, very good.
Budgeted
Anything else on here?
$1,000. Budgeted $1,000.
Okay, very good. I don't see any special events for that, because if I did, I was going to eliminate it. So let's move forward.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. We appreciate it. Moving forward, you guys, Public Works, Madam Manager, might want to chime in here.
This is something we just pursued the exact same expenses from last year, but I have to really encourage you to review my memo about funding opportunities. We desperately need a public works department, and not just a trash picker. We need someone on a higher level who's able to do reports and assist us with the grants and the service delivery and the coordination with other, there's so many things that are needed within this. But in terms of what we have here, we kept it very modest. Everything is very much the same with us, but we have to increase our services when it comes to public work. I can't do it all by myself, and the grant writer and I that's it.
I'm gonna go to you, Councilperson Perrella. Let me just say really quickly, on that front, you guys, just being there and seeing all the things that we have to do for public works. All right, we talk about the thing with the whole grant writer and something he has to do as far as grants, but there's a separate entity that has to do with like public works reports that we have to fill out for things that we get money, we get funding, we get. And those things are so like delicate as far as engineering lingo, right. Engineering like knowledge, that the manager is not an engineer. Right. So we need somebody more than, I remember in the past, Councilperson Perrella, you were like, a public works guy, a public works employee, he just picks up trash. It's like we need, I'm like, we're bringing in so much money now, and we're making El Portal such more of a professional environment that to have this funding and to be able to invest in our infrastructure and flooding and some of the sewer and things like that, we need to do engineering reports that they're asking the manager to do, and the manager's like, I'm there at the office, and the manager's calling me and stuff like that, and she's like, man, Omar, she's like, Mayor, she's like, I had to turn this report in by tomorrow. She's like, I have no idea what all this engineering stuff is about. She's like, but so she researches it all throughout the night. and learn, like she learns on the job to research all the other night, all these engineering things, lingo that she needs to learn to do the report. And she's like, I'm just hoping that is correct. She's like, man, we really need more than just a public works employee that just goes out and picks up trash, but we need somebody that can answer these emails, get these quotes sometimes, and really fill out these documents that an engineer should be filling out so that we keep our funding and things like that.
Question.
Yes, and
Does it have-
it's definitely
does it
a
have to
need.
be- 1 second, Councilman Perella. Does it have to be a full-time employee, or can this be a service that you contract out? And do you know how much it will cost to get that expertise on board?
Yes, I received a quote from our actual engineers of record, and they provide our building services. They will provide the public works, the higher level public works. I mean, we could maintain the Clean and Clear comes and cleans the village 3 days a week and does the sanitizing of the park, the tot lot. But we would keep that, but CAP government can provide the public works department at the rate of $150,000 annually for both building and public work, right, for both departments. We would have engineer on staff, we would have a mid-level staffer to come in and could do the coordinations. I provided a job description, just going over all of the things that we've done internally and how we're trying to just keep in step with delivery, of the services. I did prepare a job description. I shared that with Councilperson Perella, and I've shared that with CAP government. They're able to provide that staffer. So this staffer may not be full-time, but they would be there as much as they need to be to do the work and to prepare reports, to make sure we're in line with our interlocal agreements. I mean, there are so many other matters. I'm making my list, and I will present it to you all as to what is entailed in all of the work that I have to
You
do.
have a fund source that we're going to get.
And right, we are having a funding source that's not reflected here. That won't need to be reflected here.
And see, Mayor, this is a general, this Public Works is a revenue generating entity. It generates revenue.
And building department, Councilor.
That's right.
You're correct. Yeah,
that's right. So I don't have a problem with doing what needs to be done. Believe it or not, it was in better shape years ago. Joe, am I on the right track? It was in better shape because we did have professionals that knew we could go to. They weren't hired out, but we could go to and we get direction. So I don't have any problems with the managers asking for, as this is one of those that I was never going to cut anything from because it is a revenue generating entity. And anything that's a revenue generating entity should have what it needs. And this is one of them.
And let me say, so we're talking about very, very well said, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. And when she says 150,000, we're not talking about 150,000 increase, which through some of the funding that we're getting in, we're going to be able to pay for this, you guys. So it's not coming from taxpayer dollars. Let me say that also. Part of all this funding that we've been applying for and getting in. But not only that, it's not a $150,000 increase because it's for building and for public works. So what you would have to do now is take what we paid now for building, what we pay now for public works, minus that from the 150, and that's the overage that will be added. And so, and like I said, we wouldn't be paying for it ourselves as part of this funding and stuff we're going to get. Attorney Geller. And I saw you, Councilperson Martin. I'll come to you next. I saw you.
On a lighthearted note here, which we could certainly use. I just want to know if the item for shredding is air guitar or what. I mean, is that what that means?
Councilperson Martin, you're on board. Councilperson Martin, you're
That's a good one. Your little zingers are really appreciated.
They really are.
Right. I like it. No, I definitely agree with you, Mr. Mayor, when you were talking about just how to think about packaging these services. But in addition to that, the quality, I think, might increase significantly. And that's something that I think all of the villagers would appreciate. And also because we're going out there to attract developers, people want to deal with a professional building department and they want those things done quickly. And if we can do something to facilitate that, I think in the long run, our bottom line is going to look really good for it. So I support those efforts.
Councilperson Martin, here, you guys have no idea how many phone calls I get from the residents. I get all the phone calls of what's going on with the building department front desk. So there you go. Not Vice Mayor, but Manager Lou, anything else? And anybody can jump in. Anything that you guys stick out that up or down you guys want to change as far as the tentative proposed budget for fiscal year 2020?
Right. I just want to add to that, remembering that we also have some gas tax that can be utilized to pay for certain things as it relates to road work that's related to public works. And we are
CITT.
also in CITT, and also that this is really a frontline department, or should be, you know, a frontline department if we had somebody in it and a department. So these are the people we would need in times of emergency and a pandemic and what have you. So this is a really critical department that we have been really debilitated by not having someone at a professional level in.
All right, you guys. Nothing else. Moving on, you guys. The next page. This stuff now, right now, we're getting general, you guys. General stuff. This is special revenue fund, transportation fund. I don't know, Madam Manager, you might want to chime in on any of these type of things, expenditures, Madam Manager, or Mr. Wallace, maybe even, but Madam Manager primarily.
Before the
Oh,
manager
go ahead.
speaks, let
Excuse
me-
me,
let me
if you
say
all excuse me, I need to go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Councilperson
Thank
Corella.
you.
Take care, and we appreciate you joining us at work. I know you have a
Sure.
busy weekend working there at the store because it's Labor Day weekend. So I know you have huge sales you have going on right now. So enjoy
Right.
yourself. Take
Yep.
care.
Thank
Okay.
you, Councilperson Corella.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you all.
Yes.
sir, for clarity, because people have asked me this, you know I could not have joined the council without resigning from the Citizens Independent Transportation Trust.
Yeah.
This trust is what we were going to be a part of it anyway, but I am not. That in public record, I am not on the trust any longer. I cannot serve on 2 boards. I'm here, so let's get that out of the air. But that in itself, we need to be very careful how we spend these funds. And they do their audit, and I think Christia, you've been here long enough to know when they do their audit, they're looking for results. And so we've been very positive as a tiny city.
Yes,
I
we are.
need to tell you, we have been very, for when my tenure, which was 15 years, we were being very diligent with these funds. And they do not appreciate you not using them. They really don't. If you can't use them, I promise you there's another city that can. So I'm no longer watchdogging for us in other little cities. I am truly here. And Joe wouldn't have had it any other way. He would have made sure, you're not going to get yourself in trouble. You cannot do both of them. So we have been very good, Christia, we have been very good with these funds. And the more we do, the more we'll get. But we have to stay on cue with it.
We do, and we are, like you said, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, we are in step, we are on track. Look, these are other reports and, you know, things that we have to do within the village that would, Public Works, you know, department would really come into play here. This is where our circulator, our little trolley funding will come from as soon as the equipment arrives. It's an electronic bus, and unfortunately everything's on back order, but that's, you know, we are using those funds for this, and we are in line. We're doing things to keep our quarterly reports, annual reports, 5-year report. I mean, there are lots of reports, but we're doing it all, and we don't miss.
Absolutely, you guys. Is there anybody? And let me just say that Councilperson Lightfoot Ward is 100% correct. And I was even there. You know, I was lucky to be there and honored to be there on her last day as she was leaving. So I was there with her husband, and I was there. And I appreciate the invite, and I was honored to be there, Councilperson Lightfoot.
Thank you.
Anything else on this page? If there's nothing else, you guys, we're almost to the finish line. We can move on. The next page, we're on page 11 now. There's anything
Same thing,
here?
CITT funding.
Same thing, yes.
Same
If there's
thing.
anything here that sticks out, you guys have a question about or anything? If not, we can move on. All right, moving on to page 12 and 14.
Almost in the finish line.
Almost to the finish line. You have stormwater there. Is there anything anybody wants to say? We good? No, we got that $500,000 grant that we're going to be working on. Construction starts. We had the construction meeting where myself and the village manager signed the contract. We get construction started. It starts October 3rd, I believe.
Yes.
And so what I'm going to do, Madam Manager, I'm going to in that area where the construction is going to be starting to get done for that flooding. I'm going to pass out a flyer letting the residents know in that area. I'm going to hang it on every doorstep. I'm already going to get Ms. Gerber to start working on that.
So where is that? What is that street?
That's
Is
the
this
Elhart
3rd Avenue?
Northeast 86.
Northeast 86, coming up to
Northeast Second and North Miami Ave. In between, that's the El Jardín community. We're doing the El Jardín stormwater improvement construction.
Okay, so what I can tell the residents, because you all realize that it's Third Avenue over where I live at. It's Third Avenue where they put the infrastructure in also. You all are aware of that, right? They tore up the street and put the infrastructure down in there. So when they start doing neighborhoods, it's after this one, right, Pristia?
Yes.
It's after yes, it's
El
after. So we want to put that as part of the record because the residents over here are thinking that they're going to start here. No, they're not. They're going to start on El Jardín area. Yes.
Right, we have to do this phase and then we get to the next.
Then we get to the next stage. That's right. Because one of them's running parallel and the other one's running the other way. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
One's running east-west and the other one's got to run north-south. Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot. We appreciate it. Any other questions, you guys, before we move on? All right. Next page. Second to last. Here we go. Transfer from general fund.
So are we really having to do repairs on the park? Because this deals primarily with the nature trail, doesn't it?
No,
Well,
this is all
really-
5 parks. We'll be doing the renovations for all 5 parks.
All 5.
All
Okay.
5, and so Nature Trail included, but a proposal will be coming to you from Craig A. Smith for the, because we're starting the engineering work and design work that's necessary. They have a landscape architect on staff that will be doing the designs for the, some of the, not all of them are getting design work, but for the ones on the west side. And
On the
so
west
this-
side.
yes,
Talking
but
about
this-
the fence that's dividing the nature trail, because they're supposed to move that back toward, claim El Portel's portion of it.
That's still an issue that we would have to try to negotiate.
We're not
We don't wanna-
doing anything with that.
No.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, and some people want us to keep pursuing it, but we weren't given the property. And we don't want to, then purchase more property that we don't even own the rights to we don't have the deed to the nature trail. So we'll, in the meantime, we'll do our design, we'll pursue, they allowed us the authority to go ahead and start doing the design and renovations, but they won't give us the deed.
Very good.
But we're still on track. And again, those funds come from developers fees, not from that's not budgeted here on this department, but the 22,000 is there for the expansion that was supposed to be the exercise equipment.
Last page, Mayor.
Last page, Madam. Last page. I was gonna say, Madam Mayor. Last page, Councilperson Lightfoot.
But remember, there's a big announcement when we're done.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I got you. Anything on this last page? We got green space. We got police forfeiture funds.
Mayor, you got to talk about what a step forward it is to be able to have.
I might just because it's a weekend, it's a Saturday. Attorney Geller, because of this, I might just save that for maybe one of our council or committee meetings when I do my mayor's report. Maybe I'll go through it then. But for today, Attorney Geller, if you want to say something, you can. But absolutely, this is wonderful. This is wonderful what's happening right now.
To be able to get that money. Look, green space is important, but we're still the size of a postage stamp.
Right.
And there's not that many other opportunities for green space. And it's good that there's money for it. But being able to use some of that money to have, got the lease of police vehicles and to work on the roads near the new development, and then to have money, that's available to meet some of these critical infrastructure needs from the developer's contribution. You can't minimize how important that is to being able to have a balanced budget here.
That's right.
That's right. Absolutely.
So yeah, everything is wonderful for you guys. You guys saw that, in that email as we get ready to turn it over to the village manager. Last but not least, for the big announcement, for a couple
the big announcement, but just about green space again too. Please know that with the assistance of Robert Ruano, our grants writer, we are pursuing parks grants and green space grants. So we want to double our money. We're not just going to use that funding. We want to see what we can get, and then so that we aren't diminishing or reducing our bottom line for that spec.
Yeah, we
revenue.
spoke about that a lot. Myself and the manager spoke about that a lot because of the, we did have to take money out of green space for the police department cars and things like that. Even though the money that's there for green space, you guys, our parks are this small.
Yeah.
So, the $1 million, $1.2 million that we have for green space, like we couldn't spend that in our parks if we wanted to, unless we were going to go out and get some type of like crystal structure to put in the middle of our parks. Like there, our parks are this small. There's only so much. So that money would have been sitting there anyway. But yet, even though, since it was, a lot of discussion, a lot of debate to even move that money from development fees to the police department for those car leases, I told the village manager, we've been working on grants with our grant writer, which is part of the reason why his cost is going up, to bring in even more green grant money, non-match, so that we're going to even have even more. We're probably going to end up replacing all the money we took out. We're probably going to end up putting back in with all that money there with parts that are this small. We're not going to even be able to spend that money. So
That's right.
What's our plans for this last page? Because when you say green space, I automatically think of trees. When you say green space, I automatically think about walkways. When you say green space, I think about nature. What are we doing with this? I think a good report to the community would be satisfactory, so that they understand it's not just sitting there because we don't know what to do with it. It's sitting there because of its purpose.
Because of its purpose, yeah. So the green space mostly is going to go towards our parks. That's pretty much what it was for. The reason why it's sitting there, as far as the development agreement is because we have a new development going up called Cavisa Development, and in our guidelines, we have to where we don't want to become like a village that's all concrete. So in our guidelines, depending on how much you build, the companies and the businesses that are building have to offset that extra concrete from the buildings that they're building with giving us money to invest in our green space if we choose to do so. Mm-hmm. And so that money that's there for our green space is for our parks and things like that. And that's pretty much what it's for. That's the reason why I keep saying that our parks are only so small. We have a finite amount of parks. So the money that we're getting for the green space from these business developments that are coming in, we're not even going to be able to spend all of it on our parks, which is why we did initially recently take some of that money and reallocate it for something that we really needed, was the police department vehicles on the lease program.
And now, are we going to have a problem with an audit later on? Because that doesn't sound like anything like green space.
No.
If this is just a discretionary fund, then the residents needs to know that. But I don't think this is a discretionary fund.
It's not discretionary.
Joe, you're muted, but he's going to tell you in a second, Councilman Lightfoot, where we went through the whole process where we did the ordinances, we did the resolution. Joe wrote all that up, and we voted on that and passed it in time.
We adopted a new ordinance that allowed us to use some of the monies in that trust fund with the agreement of the developer who contributed it for items in the nature of impact fees. They are not strictly impact fees, but we adopted it and said, it wasn't unrestricted, but we adopted something and by ordinance changed it and changed the development agreement. And with the developer's agreement to it, we said that we could spend the money or a portion of the money for purposes that were related to the impact that the development has on the village, including increased police presence, because we have to police all those extra citizens in that area, increased pressure on the roads and sewage and drainage in that area. We couldn't use it for something over by the school, but things that are generalized to the village, like more police or more overtime or more cars or, road drainage, sewage, we are now permitted to use a portion of it while retaining most of it for green space specific.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Councilor Lightfoot Ward. Great question. You guys, let's all keep in mind that we don't have impact fees written into our thing. So with these new developments being especially on that Biscayne Boulevard area, those are developments that we have from that annex area that we own now. We don't have any, we weren't getting any impact fees. And now police officers are going to have to go over there more. It's going to it's extending our village with no impact fees. So we had to kind of start to think about that also. All right.
All
Thank
right,
you
I
very
don't
much,
have any
guys.
more pages.
Yeah, no, we're good. I'm going to turn over to the village manager. Let me just say that right now, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, we stand at $28,750. Going back in
Okay.
reserves. I will say this because when we get the first budget hearing, let me just say this. Some of that will be coming down because there were certain things that I haven't deducted from it yet, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, that went up. Like some things went up from like $1,000 to $2,000. There were some things in like, the budget, like the clerk's budget that weren't budgeted for that we have to, so I'll deduct some, so it won't be as much, but it'll still be a significant amount. And thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, for doing that for us.
And I expect that we would know what that number is the next time we have a council meeting, and that it's explained why we have to have it, because it is directed toward our ability to seem favorable when we're when we're seeking grants, when we're seeking other assistance as it relates to monetary values, and when they come in and do the audit.
Absolutely.
That our reserves are sufficient and we don't get this negative statement about the insufficiency of our reserves.
Absolutely.
And thinking of that, I'd also like to know if we've got the cart back yet. Christia, do we have the cart back yet?
Which part? I'm sorry.
The cart, the comprehensive accounting.
The one
You
we
know
have
what I'm talking about.
the one we have to put before the horse.
The cart. I don't know.
The cart, not the cart. No,
Cart with a P, you guys. Cart.
Yes. Yes. Do we have a status on that? Because I understand it got put on hold, and that can't be put on hold. It's already late.
Well, then, Mr. CFO may be. Mr. CFO, are you able to respond to that about where we are?
Well, we hope to have the CAFR out this month. I had hoped to have it out last month, but it just didn't work out for a number of reasons. This weekend, hopefully I'll be able to finish up all the records requests that the auditors have made and push that along a little further. No, it's not out, but we are, as we go along, also preparing for 20 and 21. So we don't expect those to take nearly as long.
I don't think I heard what I'm trying to hear. Are we there or are we not?
We are not there. We will be there in September.
All right. Good enough. Christia, you wrote a note. I can see your writing.
Yeah, I'm just, I like to write it down. He gave me a date. I wrote it down. I'm like,
I got you.
Mr. Wallace, do we need to do an extension request from the state?
I sent an email up on Tuesday. I have not heard back from them, but it's a long weekend, so I suspect a lot of people took off early up in Tallahassee.
I'm unavailable Tuesday because of Rosh Hashanah, but would you copy me on what you sent to the state? So if we need to follow it up with them, I'll be happy to get involved and push that. And if we needed to go to the committee, let me just say, I know Mr. Nortellis is still on. So if we need collectively to address the state, I certainly know the people who are on that committee, the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee. If we have any difficulty with them, please keep me posted, and I'm prepared to get involved with that extension request till the end of September. But we better have it by then.
All right, I appreciate the offer. I'll send you the email and letter.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still getting stuff from the state, you guys, letters, and
please.
anyway, we'll talk about that another time.
Mayor, you just get with me if I need
I got
to.
you. No problem.
It's very important. I'm speaking to Marin. If you don't know what that is, it's extremely important to the village, and I appreciate it staying on our radar. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Are we finished, Mayor?
The village manager's going to take us out. The village
We have a big announcement.
I'm gonna take you out. We're gonna end up on a high note. All right, I want to let you all know, I've sent you a memo over this week. I've sent you a couple of memos over the course of the week, but this one's very important, and I think you're going to be pleased. The Village of El Portal was allocated $1.2 million through the American Rescue Plan Act, and 50% of those funds are already in our account. They were coming immediately in the first tranche. The next tranche of $600,000 will come a year from now. But these funds are specific to the coronavirus and our response to it. They are only to be used to respond to public health emergency or its negative economic impact, including assistance to small businesses, households, impact the industry, tourism, and hospitality. But it's also the response to workers performing essential work during COVID, the public health emergency by provoking premium pay eligible workers. So that's where the public works and building. These are all, frontliners, and this is where we can have a significant impact. It's also to be used for the provision of government service to the extent of the reduction in revenue due to, and we've had a reduction in revenue. This will help us with that as well. And make any investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. So I sent you a memo with, and it came through from the blessing of our mayor and our attorney, as well as our CFO. We all went through painstakingly went through the guidelines to ensure that the recommendations would fit under these specific that came from the federal government. And so we were very confident with that, and we presented it to you in the memo. We want to replace the lost revenue for sales tax and gas tax due to the pandemic. We want to increase the broadband capacity of the village hall and our village parks that will provide internet service to residents. And be a low income and underserved and unserved areas. So providing that will assist in that.
That's where all those extra Zoom costs can be paid, because those are necessitated. So that's going to address that item.
An investment.
Celebration.
We want to address the police staffing and work conditions. And we want to obviously increase our building departments and the public works, create the public works department. And then we're also looking for some investments in outdoor spaces and payment and retainers to consultants and contractors who provide compliance and management of these funds. So Mr. Ruano's funds can even be utilized for this, and those others who are helping with, with engineering services. So we do have this fund that we can utilize for, and we don't have to spend them all immediately. We have until 2026 to use them before this, the federal government will take them back, but we're going to spend every penny because we have a necessity. So please take a look at your memo, and we will be meeting about this and discussing this at a formal council meeting at the Administration and Finance Committee, and we can discuss part of those discussions.
Mr. Mayor, I'm gonna leave it to you to get with the manager and do a brevity and put it on the website of why this is so important. And it's not just extra money to do, but it is a celebration because we got it because of Christia. We got it because we're paying attention. We may be tiny, but this is a celebration. This is not just something we can just say, we're going to keep quiet. We should celebrate these kinds of things, but they don't need the whole letter. They just need the brevity of why it's important and what it will contribute to, just like she just said. And I'm going to leave that one to you. You need help, let me know.
Well, let me add something else to it as well. If there are any line items in our present budget that can be utilized, that we can utilize these funds for, then we can then reallocate, because the funds
back to the reserve, more money in the reserve, Councilman's Life Award, more money in the reserve. There you go.
Reallocate back to reserve. So we're going to get something.
What do you say, Joe?
$100,000 a year for 2 years.
Yeah.
$1.2 million on our budget.
That's awesome.
Some of it's expansion of services, but some of it's replacement for stuff we had to do. And if you want to talk, when you're scraping there, Anna, for 500 here, excuse me, I don't know it long enough. I'm gonna call Anna this time. When we're scraping for 500 here and there, that's $600,000.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kudos to you.
Would not have, if I'm gonna say it, that we would not have if the guy my daughter calls the orange troll was still there. We wouldn't have dime one of this, but we got somebody now who's trying to actually help the people get through this crisis. And $1.2 million. And as the manager said, if we need to take 3-4 years to spend some of it, but I bet we don't.
Right.
That is big news, and it should make your job Get this.
And let me just jump in here. We're going to end it right here, you guys. Let me just say, you know, I just want to thank all of you because, you know, the village manager did say, you know, herself, you know, myself, you know, Attorney Geller, you know, we go through these things and we, you know, we apply for so many things and things like that. But, you know, it's you guys like energize me, you know, because I never want to let you all down. This is the truth. You know, I always want to make sure that, you know, the village is in good shape. And I want to invest in the future so that when we're not here anymore, you know, that's why I'm focusing on infrastructure and businesses and things like that. But I want to keep the village though as a, you know, as a serene, nice, tranquil place at the same time. So I'm trying to do my best to balance both things. You know what I mean? Infrastructure and business, but still where we're as a village and we can't have that small village feel to us. But it's you know, the intelligence and intellectualism from Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, Councilperson Martin, that you guys really like push us. You drive me to like wake up every day and get on these things. And I tell the village manager all the time, I'm like, you know, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, just doing the emails and getting ready. And I don't want to just, you know, disrespect anybody. So I don't want to send it that early. So I have like 6 emails that are just waiting in my drafts. And when like 9 a.m. hits, I'm like,
no, I have 2 small kids. I'm up, so you can send mine.
It's all good. I'm sending all the emails at that time. Well, let me just say,
laptops, those police printers.
So many things.
Yeah.
So many
They
things.
need so much.
Yeah.
So many things.
A nickel.
And let me just say
Congrats to you.
this. No, go ahead.
Congrats.
Councilman.
Congrats. It's super huge. This is a crazy amount of money for a village our size. And we really do have to thank you, Madam Manager, for just being awesome. And Mr. Mayor for like collaborating and working and like doing what it takes to like move us to the next level. But this is transformative money for this village. So it's good.
And it's not over, you guys. We've applied for so many more things. We have so many more things that are like in the middle portion that's coming to us. We have so many more things that we're in the beginning portion applying to and things like that. When I do the state of the village, I'm gonna be talking about all of these type of things and we're not even gonna go into it right now, Madam Manager. We're not even talking about the $1.32 million we got for 87th Street.
That's right.
That we've already been approved for.
That's right.
So we're not even talking about that.
Wait till Washington passes the $3.5 trillion infrastructure bill that's up there and the bipartisan infrastructure bill, which is designed to help local governments fix things up and fix, you know, decades of neglect and put people to work. And we're going to have, I mean,
all type of stuff we're going after.
That's going to be addressed, and they're going to pass. Maybe they'll lower it to $3 trillion, but it's coming. It's coming. Lots more.
We're applying for everything under the sun. Like I said, we have so many things in the works, and the grant writer is going to be, you know, he's going to be paid, you know, 1 million times. We're going to make what he's being paid 1 million times over. And like I said, and so for just that, and I'm keeping everything else for my state of the village because we have so many things, Madam Manager, so many surprises for you guys. We have so many surprises for you guys that's coming in. But let me just say this really quickly, Joe. I'm gonna turn it back over to you. But like just with that, like $1.32 million for 87, I'm talking about like now we can, from, you know, going west from Northeast 2nd, we can finally start to find a way to put sidewalks on 87. 87th Street is one of our main thoroughways. Like we don't have sidewalks like west of Northeast 2nd. You know, just things like that. So we're transforming this village infrastructure wise and business wise that when we're gone, you know, we're going to be able to look down from heaven and Elbert Tower, everybody's going to be enjoying all the things that we're doing now and putting in place now. Attorney Geller, over to you.
I got the tiniest note of, it's not really caution, but for the chief and for the council members, it is intended that this can address things like staffing. But understand that is an intention that management is looking to do. But since our bargaining unit has just chosen to have a new union representing them, and they're still being certified, and we have not had the first phone call from FOP, not one, not a phone call, not an email, not anything. We just have to obey the right protocol because collective bargaining is heavily regulated. So we can't just go out and say, we're going to do this. It has to be achieved through the process of collective bargaining until the union reaches out to us, the new union, and tells us what they want. We can't agree to something that has not been requested. So just remember that that may take just a little bit more time than some of the rest of this. We have time to spend this money. It's a priority for the village, but we cannot, I mean, it would literally just about, I don't want to concede it, but it could almost be an unfair labor practice for us to do something. You know, they could say we're trying to undermine the union by not allowing them to make the requests. So just, everybody, just keep that in the back of your mind by the time we get to the end of the, not the fiscal year, but the year. I'm sure that'll all be done.
And we're gonna sign off right now, but let me just say, where Attorney Yell is talking about, you guys, he's not discussing like the public works position or building position and things. That's not what he's discussing. All right, because I don't want people to get confused and be like, well, I thought he said we can't use this for this. He's not discussing that. He's talking about specifically the police department. Because we were looking to, because, you know, with COVID and everything, police departments are affected. We were looking to see if we can use some of the money to help out with the police department. But because they left the PBA and didn't want to sign a contract, we're back to square one. And now we have to deal with a new union. So that's what he's referring to when it comes to that. That's what he was referring to. All right. Any last questions or comments?
Thank
Is
you all.
everybody's go ahead, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
No, I'm saying goodbye. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Everybody's
Very
mind
productive.
and hearts are clear.
And very
Minds and hearts
short.
are clear. We're good. Everybody's mind and hearts are clear. Thank you, Hugo.
Mayor, I got
Hugo,
one
Bye, guys.
Fonseca, we appreciate it.
Everybody.
Thank you very much.
Hold
Oh,
it.
okay, Geller, go ahead.
For less than a minute. With what's coming in, with the money, with the steps forward, with all of this, and God willing, hopefully even our appeal on FEMA, which is, we're still optimistic. I just
We
want to put a bug in the council's head while we're, you know, having kind of a long-term discussion. This could be the time to take another look at some annexation to the east of the village, you know, where like Pinch Kitchen is and some of that area that's unincorporated, that's orphaned, that Miami Shores has never shown an interest in, that the city of Miami hadn't done a thing about. You know, they kind of block us a little right there at Biscayne, but we could probably look at going around them. There's some very nice neighborhoods that don't have anybody providing services to them. And there's some, you know, commercial, and with the money flowing to our police department and the ability to provide instant service to people there instead of having to wait for Miami-Dade County, the mayor and council, this may be the time you want to take another look at whether or not some annexation to your east is possible. And, you know, maybe on the west side as well. You know, if you've got the money,
Definitely on the west
police
side.
department is serviced.
Definitely
You
on the
have-
west side.
You have
It's
the
just sitting
ability
there.
to look at both. So that's all.
Yeah, thank you. I would just say, like, we just have to make sure we have our house in order before we try to
Right.
expand it. So that's the only thing I would say. But I hear your attorney together. Thank you very much. You guys, I appreciate it. Have a great weekend. You guys be safe. You guys take care.
Enjoy your weekend, guys.
Take care, you guys. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
Take
wonderful
care.
Labor
Thank
Day
you for
weekend.
everything. Take care, you
You
guys.
too.
Wonderful
Happy Rosh
meeting.
Hashanah.
Wonderful meeting, you guys. Wonderful meeting.
Fantastic.
Take care. Thank you very much,
Happy
full
Rosh
moon,
Thank you, full
and
moon.
Hugo, Mr. Fonseca. Thank you for doing this for us. You guys take care. Thank you.
Thank you.